Tony Williams is suing her cousin, 20-year-old Sir Williams, for various household bills. Sir is countersuing, claiming Tony bleached his clothes.
Order. All rise. Now, this is case number 520 on the calendar in the matter of Williams versus Williams. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat.
What's your first name?
Sir.
Is that what people call you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Interesting first name.
Thank you.
Miss Williams, this is your cousin. According to your complaint, you leased an apartment with him, with one other person?
With him, yes, ma'am.
Just with him?
Yes, ma'am.
And your agreement was as follows, that you were going to pay the rent and he was going to pay the utilities.
Yes, ma'am.
The utilities were in your name. He didn't pay the utilities. According to you, he owes you several $100s for the utility bills before he moved out. And in addition, because he didn't pay the utilities, he ruined your credit, so you want him to pay additional damages to you. Sir says that there was never any agreement for him to pay the utilities, and in addition, this has nothing to do with anything other than a family dispute that you have, which caused you at some later time to come to his home, where he had moved with his grandmother, and you came in, you poured bleach, and you ruined his clothing and his shirts and his shoes, and you have some property that belongs to him. When did you sign this lease with your cousin?
Ma'am, I have the lease agreement right here. He signed it on the 25th. Actually, he signed it on 6/20/04.
Where had you lived before?
With my grandmother.
Were you working at the time you moved in with your cousin?
Yes, ma'am.
Who were you working for?
EBS, janitorial services.
How much money were you making?
$9 an hour.
Working 40 hours a week?
Yes, ma'am.
Your cousin says that you had an agreement that you were supposed to take care of the utilities.
No, ma'am.
Why in the world would she sign a lease with you? You did sign a lease, didn't you?
Yes.
And you not have any responsibility to pay any of the bills at all?
No, I moved in with her. She said she was going to help me get on my feet. She was about to get a house built, and I was going to move out and get my own apartment.
But you signed the lease?
Yes. That's for my apartment credit, so I can get my own apartment. I wouldn't have that much hassle.
And when did you move out?
I got put out.
When?
The end of August, beginning of September.
When did you put him out?
Ma'am, actually, I didn't put him out, but it was in October. My cousin had a birthday party for him on October 2nd. He stopped by with his nephew, picked up some things, and that's the last time I saw him. I haven't even spoken to him since all this happened, to be honest with you.
Ma'am, actually, she did put me out. She told me, give him my house key, get out, and if you don't have all your stuff out here by Sunday, it's going to be scattered out across the apartments.
You lived there for 3 months.
Correct.
What did you do with all your money?
Nothing. I bought my clothes. I bought stuff that I needed.
And you didn't give your cousin any money?
No, I wasn't supposed to.
I didn't ask you whether you say you weren't supposed to. That's what grown-ups do when they have a job. Sir.
Okay.
They take care of their own responsibility. You know, when you were living with your grandmother, were you giving her any money?
No.
You giving her any money now?
No.
Are you still working?
No, ma'am.
Well, did you lose your job?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
According to my job, I had a lot of calls coming in from her and her friend that, they said that they were being rude with them. They used to call my job for unnecessary stuff like, I'm his girlfriend, there's an emergency, and all this other type of thing of that sort. That's what my job was told to me.
You got to start taking care of your own responsibilities. You have a girlfriend?
Yes, I do.
You don't have any children?
No, ma'am.
Take your girlfriend out?
Nope.
He was supposed to take care of the utilities?
Yes, ma'am, he was.
Tell me what you told him when he moved in.
Actually, madam, there's a history behind this. Back in 2002, I got out of the military. I'm in the United States Marine Corps. He actually lived with both my sister and I. We were roommates. We rented a house. We stayed there for a year. When our lease was up, we moved into an apartment. I was purchasing a home. Sir was with us the whole time. Yes, I was helping him out. He was my brother. He asked me if he could be my brother. We were raised together. She's my grandmother, too. We moved into this apartment. I was actually working. He was working for me when all this happened with EBS. I got him the job. I was in property management. I was taking him to and from work. The deal was I would pay
Was she driving
rent.
you to and from work?
Yes, she did.
I would
Go ahead.
I would pay rent because I made, more money he did. He would pay the utility bills.
What utilities?
The electric bill, the telephone bill, the cable bill, and also, madam, I got him a cellular phone in my name, which I'm not litigating against today, but those bills, which, totally conclusively didn't really add up to much. I mean, I was paying rent.
In total, for the 3 months that he lived with you,
Yes, ma'am.
how much were those bills? The electricity, telephone,
The cable bill was $464.80, and the
$464?
$464
For 3 months?
and 80 cents. Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cable did you have?
Besides the cable bill, someone else, and it wasn't me. I don't know who it was, but they like ordered movies or something like that. Fights, which I guess cost more money.
Did you ever do that?
No, ma'am. She ordered those fights.
Just a minute. What was the basic cable bill?
I think it was like $97 a month or something like that.
Is that possible?
Yes.
It's entirely possible.
All right, so that's $300. What else?
The telephone is $166.79, and the electric bill was $604.59.
What was your rent?
$720, but I also paid a wash and dryer, which was $35, and a water bill, which was usually about, I'll say $30 a month.
So you were paying about $780, and he was paying about $350.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds fair to me.
No,
Sir?
She also had a roommate that moved in with her.
Who was that?
That was her friend.
My lover. But
Just a second.
Go ahead.
Well, if that's the case, then this doesn't look so fair.
She did not live there, but she was there a lot. Sir had his own
She
room.
lived
She was
there.
in my room.
They shared rooms.
Well, I mean, that's my space.
They moved in. They said that they were going to split the bills, and
No,
however they
we
did
did
that.
not. She didn't.
No, don't interrupt
Yes,
him.
ma'am.
He's speaking now. Go ahead.
She moved in, like, soon as we moved to the apartment, she said, well, we're going to split the bills, and we're going to take care of this and that and the other, because she was getting a house built. I was going to sign my name on the lease for 3 months. Now that she's not going to be able to get her house, I guess that's why she's upset.
This is what I don't understand. She was building a house, which means that she had to have a certain credit rating. According to what I read, these bills were in her name.
Correct.
And it doesn't sound logical to me that she would avoid paying these bills, purposely not pay these bills, unless she thought, I'm speaking, unless she thought someone else was taking care of those bills and risk her credit being put in the sewer when she was paying the rent, going to pay for a mortgage on a house, right?
Correct.
So what you tell me about your lack of any sort of financial obligation for your own living expenses or for part of them doesn't make sense, sir.
She was helping me out.
Doesn't make sense, my dear. Now, you want to tell me about the bleached clothes?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Tony Williams says her cousin, Sir Williams, lived with her for free for 3 months. She is suing for $5,000 worth of household bills.
Madam, I have never bleached his clothes. As far as a clock, radio, and the stereo,
That's
my mother
not
gave
true.
me that for my 30th birthday.
There came a time when you went to your grandmother's house.
Yes, ma'am.
You were angry with him.
I was.
You were angry with him because he didn't pay these bills?
Yes, ma'am.
Was there any other reason?
No, I was mad at him because my credit was in the toilet. I got all these telephone calls. They were turning off my electricity.
So you went to the house and you were angry. What did
Yes.
you do when you got there?
I talked to my Nana, and I was upset. I was crying. I mean, I was very frustrated. She told me she didn't believe me. She told me that I was mad at her because of some girl between my sister. I have no idea. I started talking to my Uncle Robert, his dad. My Uncle Robert told me the same thing. I said, I have the paperwork right here.
What do you think that your cousin was angry about? About some girl?
No, we, that night when I got off work and I came home, she was upset. She was sitting on the couch talking about something about me and my cousin was at this other girl's house and waiting on my other cousin to come in. She said she called, she talked to my cousin, he told her I was asleep on the couch. She said not even 5 minutes later after that, her sister called, Wanika called, and said the girl was just talking crazy to her and she was wondering why I didn't stick up for her, why I didn't defend her. I said, well, I was asleep on the couch. I didn't know anything about that.
You mean some... Okay, let me see if I can translate this.
It doesn't even make
Your cousin was angry because she had heard that someone was saying bad things about her and you didn't defend her?
To her sister. After,
Whatever. She was somebody was saying bad things and you weren't defending her. And your excuse for not defending her, despite the fact that she had been so good to you,
It's not an
was
excuse,
that
that's
you
the
were
truth.
sleeping on the couch.
Correct.
Now you got it? All right. Now, what happened when she came in with regard to your clothes? She came in, she spoke to her Nana, she spoke to your father.
I wasn't there.
Who was there?
My grandmother was there.
You want to talk to me?
Yes.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's your last name?
Ruth Williams.
All right, Miss Williams.
Ruth Williams Caraway.
Do you remember when this happened?
Not exactly the date, but it started in September.
Now, I want to know when she came to the house.
Let me see, I got that wrote on it. It's been on it. Anyway, it was the 10th and the 4th, I think. She had first called and asked me where was Sir. I told her he wasn't there. She said, because I'm going to kill him. I said, no. I said, you're not going to kill him. Yes, I am going to kill him because he left and owed me some money. I said, no, Tony, don't do this. Yeah, I'm going to do it. And then she left. And then I talked to her other sister, and she was raving. She said, I love my sister. He do just what she get him. So I said, well, he's not here. And when she come over to the house, she just rushed in the house, fussing and going on, and went on into his room. Her mother was standing on one side of the door. I was standing on the other. And she went in and he always put Clorox in his room because I'm allergic to it. And she taken a whole gallon of Purex and put it all over both the bunk beds, threw the fan on the floor. We got pictures of those.
I'd like to see it, please.
And spread them all over his clothes. And I told him, I says, I wouldn't do that. I says, I'm going to call the police. And she said, oh, hell no, you're not going to call the police. And she shoved me up against the wall. She shoved her mama too, but her mama said she didn't do it. Her mama was on one side, I was on the other. And she shoved me up against the wall and went and didn't hang up. Because I told her mama to hang up the phone so I could call the police. So she didn't let her hang up the phone. So I didn't get to call the police. So they went out in the yard. I called and told my brother-in-law to tell Sir, don't come home. I said, because Tony's over here saying she going to kill it. And I don't want that in my house. They stayed at my yard about 3.5 hours, raving and cussing and dragging a whole box of these clothes out there and filled them full of water. And that's where they left her. And she went and got a baseball bat. She come back to the house. That's when I said that she needed help. She come back to the house and was going to run in. Her mama said, shut the door, don't let her in. So I had to screen those clothes, and she just snatched the screen door, which I got a picture of that too, and pulled it loose and asked me if I wanted some of it.
Oh, Nana, please stop it.
I told her no, that she wasn't going to get in, to leave my house, and don't ever come back anymore, because I've never had a granddaughter to disrespect me as much. She said, well, I'm going to get him when he come home. So her mother, her sister, and I guess that was her other lady friend. Anyway, as a friend of hers said, they stayed in my house about 3.5 hours, sitting out on the porch with a baseball bat, waiting for him to come home. So when he come, I just showed him the room. She showed I have a bruise on this hip, and my shoulder I can still feel.
Nana, please stop.
I told her, my daughter, I thought it was all over till he got a summary that saying he was going to court. I don't know why I had the pictures taken, but I had them taken because I felt that I needed proof to show that something had happened.
If you're 20 years old and you're working and you have a job and you have a cousin who before all this happened was very good to you, right?
Correct.
According to you, if I'm to believe you, she was really very good to you for a long time because you lived with her more than 3 months, right?
And I never paid rent.
I'm not talking about paying rent. That doesn't make you a star, the fact that you lived with her for more than 3 months and didn't pay rent. That makes you a bottom sucker.
No.
Now, listen to me carefully, my dear. She says that you lived with her before.
I never paid rent. I never was supposed to.
I understand you didn't pay rent. She said you lived with her before, which means she was good to you.
Correct. So why is she suing me then?
After I'm finished with him, have a big boy discussion with him. Maybe he'll get it from you. Maybe he'll get it from you. You have to explain to me, sir, why someone who has had a history of being nothing but nice to you, let you live with her, supported you, got you a job, all of a sudden would turn on you like that. You have to explain that to me. It doesn't make sense.
There's no explanation for that. I don't know why she did that.
Are you still in the military?
No, ma'am, I'm not.
You didn't have a psychiatric discharge, did you?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Not crazy.
She bleached my clothes.
No, ma'am, I did not.
Busted
Just a
into the
second,
house.
Miss Williams. Miss Williams, listen, look at me.
Yes, ma'am.
Angry. You were, I believe, your grandmother. You went to the house, you and a friend, and you were absolutely beside yourself for whatever reason. So I believed you bleached his clothes.
I did not, madam.
Showed them pictures.
Yeah, you probably did.
I'm sorry.
Probably did.
I did not.
Probably did.
I have a witness here can attest to this fact. Not only was it us, it was not another woman with me. It was myself, my sister, who drove me over there because I was upset. She didn't want me driving. There was a guest, a neighbor, actually, who came over to us, and we were not in the yard 3.5 hours. I was in there maybe 45 minutes. I don't know. I was upset.
Long time.
My mom
You
was
were upset.
calming me down. I did not have a bag. Anyway, this neighbor came over to us.
I even had a friend that came in.
Sir owed him money. I'm guessing. That's what he told us. My sister can attest to this. I did not bleach his clothes. I didn't even steal my radio that he stole from me, that my mother gave me on my 30th birthday. And as far as those pictures, to be honest with you, I think maybe they staged that. I love my grandmother to death. Now, you have no clue as to how much you've hurt me today. You have no idea. And to say that I hit you, I would never intend to yell and scream at my mother, too. I wasn't even raised that way.
Just a second. So you're not saying that she hit you?
She shoved me.
Shoved you?
Yeah, up against the wall like that.
Miss Williams, I believe that you are owed a certain amount of money. I believe that your cousin agreed to pay for the utilities.
No, I did not.
Don't interrupt me! Listen to me. I may be wrong. This may be one of the few times since 1947 that I have been wrong. I'm willing to live with it, because if you did not agree to pay some share of the living expenses, I'm prepared to be comfortable in the fact that you should have. So I find that there was an agreement, and if I'm wrong, I'm prepared to live with it. Do you understand, sir? Sir? Do you understand that, sir?
I don't think I should have paid anything.
You wouldn't.
Listen to me. Don't speak to him.
Yes,
Don't speak to him.
Because if that was the case, why would all the other times when I stayed where I wasn't obligated to pay any rent, why all of a sudden now when her bills get outrageous, now she wants
Because
me to
now,
pay?
sir, you are a big boy. And you signed the lease. And you owe her $1,070.
Also, the lease says that I was an occupant. She was the leaseholder.
And you've got a big fresh mouth, so I'm dismissing your counterclaim. That's all. Step out.
Excuse me, you may step out.
I cannot stand him. What hurts me most is my own grandmother.
Well, I just think he should take more responsibility.
What did I ever do to him that was so bad, or even her? I love them both.
She should quit accusing people and take responsibility.
She did come to my house. She bleached my clothes.
Why would she bleach his clothes? We went and purchased his clothes, the both of us.
They didn't pay for anything. All those things I bought with my own money.
You little punk, you. I cannot believe you. Is that funny to you?
I just think it's just so wrong. I hate it. I love her to death. She's supposed to have been my special granddaughter.
She told me 3 months ago I was dead to her. They've both been dead to me for that long, too, I guess, especially after today.
This time when she gets upset, she loses her mind. The girl needs help.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jones versus Chum. Step forward, please.
Daycare provider Laurie Jones is suing her former client, customer service rep Nina Chum, for unpaid babysitting fees and for making false allegations to Child Protective Services.
Mrs. Jones, you run a daycare agency?
Yes, I do.
And you were contacted by the defendant who asked you if you would take care of her children.
Yes.
You did for a short period of time. And during the last week, according to you, she gave you a check and then stopped payment on that check. She later removed her children from your care. You want that check, which was $90.
Yes.
And also, it is your claim that she maliciously contacted the State Department of Social Services, who licenses you, and reported that children in your care were being given substandard care. And you want to be compensated for that because it put you out of business for a while. The defendant says that you did, in fact, give her children substandard care, and she is counterclaiming for all the money she paid you for her children's care and for punitive damages.
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Chum, how did you find Mrs. Jones?
Well, I was looking for daycare for my children.
How old are your children?
They were 5 years old at the time.
Twins?
Yes. And I had seen Laurie at some of the daycare meetings that I'd been to when I was providing child care. So I knew of her.
Fine. And you needed somebody immediately. You brought the children over when?
This was in July, on July 12th.
And what financial arrangements did you make?
They were going to be there for part-time, so she was charging me for part-time for the 2 children at $90 a week.
And how many weeks were the children there?
They were there for about 4.5 weeks or so.
And how many weeks did you pay for?
For all of the time that we were there.
Well, the last check, what happened?
I gave her the check on the Monday. Tuesday afternoon, I came and picked the children up as usual, and she wasn't there. Her husband was there, and I went and I said, you know, where's Lori? And I was told that she had taken one of her children to a doctor. I said, okay, but the children, as soon as my children sat down in the car, they told me that, Mommy, you know, they were watching naked people on TV.
Did you ask the children to describe what they saw?
They just told me that there were naked people on TV, and to be honest with you, I was just so distraught, I didn't know what to think or what to do. I just drove home.
Did you question them any further?
I did ask if it was people on the beach, you know, what was it, you know, was it, because sometimes children may say that even people in underwear are naked, so I wanted to be sure, and they said no, they weren't wearing anything. And so that really bothered me, and I just contacted DCFS on the issue so that they could investigate further.
Okay, let's get to the 10th of August. Where were you?
I watched her kids up until about 3:15, and then I took my daughter to the doctor, and my husband watched her kids for me the last half hour.
Why didn't he take your children to the doctor?
I just wanted to, so I just left them with him.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, it was.
Is he a daycare provider?
No, he's not.
Then you made a mistake. You made a serious mistake. So the part of your lawsuit, quite frankly, that deals with punitive damages for reporting you to the state, I'm dismissing. If you have children in your charge and you've been licensed by the state, it is your obligation, absent an emergency, to take care of them. And you have absolutely no right to let your husband fill in. And this was a Tuesday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Is that right?
Right.
What was he doing home?
He had the day off. I don't remember exactly why he was off that day.
She told me he'd been laid off. So he'd been, most of the time when you go, he's around the house mowing or doing other things.
Was he working at that time?
I don't remember. He's been laid off on and off since August. He'd work a couple weeks and they'd lay him off for a week, and then he'd work a month and they'd lay him off for 2 weeks. It's been that way since August.
Step up, sir. What were you watching on television, Mr. Jones?
Captain Ron. It's a comedy. I brought a copy.
Is there any nudity in that movie?
It just shows that, no, there ain't no nudity. It shows them in bikinis and bathing suits.
PG.
PG-13.
It's still not appropriate for children.
Yeah, it is.
Just
it's
a second.
comedy.
No, PG-13 is not appropriate for children. That means parental guidance, not to watch till you're 13. That's what PG-13 means, Mr. Jones. 5-year-olds watch G-rated movies, not PG-13, right?
Right.
I mean, it's a comedy to you. You think that these 5-year-olds understand the comedy?
Mine does.
Well, then they've been watching too many PG-13 movies. Well, I would be, Miss Jones, quite frankly, I would be pretty annoyed, too.
She told DCFS that they were watching X-rated porno.
I did not tell them that.
That's what he told me.
What I said was the children told me they were watching naked people. Children
That's
don't
porno.
know the difference.
Just a second. No.
They don't know the difference
No.
between all
That's not pornography. That's watching naked people. What you did was, and I don't even know if that's what he was watching. So you made 2 mistakes. A, you made arrangements to take your daughter to the doctor at 3:15 in the afternoon while you still had work to do. It was not an emergency. B, if it was an emergency, then you let him take your daughter to the doctor and you stay home. And if the reason that you didn't let him take your daughter to the hospital was because you didn't trust his judgment.
No, that's not it at all.
Well, then there can be no other reason when you say, I wanted to, rather than let him take her when you had a job to do. The reason is either you didn't take your job seriously, or you didn't trust his judgment in relaying to the doctor whatever ailment your daughter had. And if you didn't trust his judgment with regard to doing that, you don't trust his judgment with leaving him alone with strange children when he's an unlicensed, unregulated, untrained provider. And he's been doing nothing but sitting around watching TV all day. So he's probably had it up to here with kids. Counterclaim seeks the return of all your money. So I'm going to give you an analogy of why you're not going to get all the money back. Let's say you've been going to a local restaurant for 2 years. One day you go there and you find a roach in your salad. And you say, I'm not paying for this meal. There was a roach in my salad, right? I would say you're absolutely right. You shouldn't have to pay for that meal. You say, not only don't I want to pay for that meal, I've been going there 2 years. I want all the money back. that I spent in this restaurant over the last 2 years. Would you get it back?
No, I understand.
I think that you were absolutely right to contact the state. I think that her actions in leaving the children with an unlicensed provider is inappropriate. I'm not exactly sure what he was watching on television.
That's what
the
concerns
best
me.
scenario is he was watching a PG movie, and he shouldn't have been with 5-year-olds. So your claim is dismissed. Understood?
I do understand that. However, I was really, truly shocked, and it was offensive, I feel, to the children in her care, her own children, and to my children.
Then why don't you tell the judge why you got your daycare license stripped from you?
I didn't get my daycare license stripped.
Listen to me. It's not about her.
Okay, that's offensive.
Shh. It's not about her. It's about you. You did the wrong thing. And he did the wrong thing. She made a complaint, and she was justified in making her complaint. And if she was justified in making a complaint, it boggles my mind why you're suing her. That's all. Case is dismissed.
Parties are excused. You may step back.
She's just upset with every daycare provider because she got her own daycare license stripped from her.
Nobody took my license away from me.
They were not watching X-rated.
When they told me that, they were watching people, naked people on TV, I felt no.
I would not do that with kids.
I did my background check.
Shrek is rated PG.
Unfortunately, sometimes that isn't always going to be enough.
19-year-old customer service rep David Gonzalez is suing 27-year-old merchandising manager Heath Stoddard for vandalizing his car. Heath claims David sexually assaulted his friend, Amanda.
Now, this is case number 483 on the calendar in the matter of Gonzalez versus Stoddard. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Gonzalez, it is your claim that Mr. Stoddard vandalized your car and threw a bottle at it, and you want him to pay some $4,000 in damage. And I gather from reading all of these papers that there was an incident involving a girlfriend of yours. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, is this the girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so we're going to start with her. Step up, please. Tell me your name.
Amanda.
Amanda. All right. Amanda, you have a last name.
Payne, P.
On what night did you allegedly have trouble with Mr. Gonzalez and his friends?
The night of the incident.
Well, what date was that?
I'm not sure.
What date was that?
August 26, 2004.
All right, now I want you to tell me your version of what happened that night.
I was outside talking to Sam over here, and I was going to go back into the apartment, and him and his friend stopped me, and they took me over to the
Okay, he and his friend. Did you know them before that evening?
I had met them, yes.
So you were acquaintances?
Right.
And you say he and his friend stopped you. How did they stop you?
They took me by my arms. They grabbed me by my arms just like that.
Yes.
And they took me over by the pool area, and they were touching me and feeling me.
Tell me what they said to you when they grabbed you by the arm. Tell me what...
They had been drinking, so they were just slurring and just making rude comments to me, saying, you're going to come over here and, we're going to do this and that. And I had hollered for Sam. And
okay, so they grabbed you and pulled you over to the pool area?
Yeah, we were walking over by there.
Well, as you were walking over to the pool area, were you calling for help?
Yes, I called for Sam, and they...
As you were walking over to the pool area?
Yes.
Before anything happened to you, were you calling for anybody?
No, because they had just took me by my arms, and they were just walking me over there fast.
Well, did you say I don't want to go with you? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I did.
Amanda. Okay, let's keep going. So they walked you over to the pool area. Go ahead.
They had me picked up, and they were smacking my butt and just touching me, like I said.
And you were calling for Sam?
Yes.
Go ahead.
And they had told me to shut up, and they called me a B word.
Go ahead.
And then that's when Obed came over.
That's this person over here, yeah?
Yes, and he had came over, and he'd been drinking, and I said, Obed, do something. And he said, what? Like nothing was going on.
Yeah.
And then he left. And then I managed to get myself away from them, and I ran back over to Sam and told Sam about it.
Sam. Up. Sam, you have a last name.
Dyer.
What did Amanda tell you, Mr. Dyer, when she came over to you? Well, I want you to think very carefully of the exact words she used.
She was crying, and at first I couldn't get her to tell me. It was hard to find out what was going on. She started to tell me that these men had tried to grab her, touch her, and she used the word rape. At the same time that she had told me that, I saw the to walk past me to the car, get in the car.
And this gentleman was one of them?
Yes.
Okay, so they walked past you and they got into the car.
And then I went to the car to ask them if they were leaving. And they said, yes, but we'll be right back. We're going to the store. I went in to get my buddy, Heath, right here, to tell him what had happened. And I was angry. I can say that for myself. I was angry. I don't like to see. She was hysterical, very upset. And I told him what was going on.
You told Heath?
Heath. He was getting ready for work at the time. You know, I was excited. I was like, you know, I was kind of jazzed now, and I'm telling him, these guys are coming right back. This is what happened.
Okay, so they left. They did leave.
They had left, and they returned.
Do they live there in this apartment complex?
Obed.
He does?
Does live there, yes.
He does. So that they came back because they said they were going to?
Yes.
Okay. Strange behavior for people who were trying to rape somebody, to leave and come back. But go ahead.
Okay. I didn't actually see this, but I heard a glass shatter. That's when he later had told me that was a beer bottle that hit the window.
That he threw at the window?
Yes.
Go ahead.
The passenger then, he's not here right now, but the passenger jumped out, throwing his hands up, ready to fight.
Because somebody had thrown a bottle?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
There were three of them, one of Heath. Heath was approaching the car. As he was approaching the car, I went around the passenger side and engaged in a scuffle with the guy who had jumped out. I was ready, telling him to take a swing, which he did try to take a swing. I ended up taking him to the ground. He started to pull away from me. Heath was right there. They started fighting. I started to separate the two, the guy that is not here, Heath, and that other guy. And that's really all that I saw.
You've been most helpful.
Thank you.
Don't sit down.
Okay.
Mr. Gonzalez, had you been drinking that night?
We had been drinking. We weren't drunk.
Had you been drinking that night?
No.
Had you been?
Yes.
What had you been drinking?
Beer.
And you?
No, ma'am.
Fine. So you were drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
Who was driving?
I was driving. I only had one beer. I wasn't drunk at all.
Who else were you with?
I was with my other friend and my cousin Obed.
Do you know Amanda Payne?
I do. I met her.
You want to tell me what happened that night?
Yes, ma'am, I do. That night, my cousin Obed had called me, and he said, hey, Miss Payne wanted to see me that night. I went over there with intentions of only seeing her. And
is that right, Obed?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up.
And...
Shh.
Oh, sorry.
Obed, when did Miss Payne tell you that she wanted to see your cousin?
We were outside talking, and I told her that David was in town, and she told me to call him up, so I called him up.
Is that right?
No. I never wanted to see him.
You're lying.
No, I'm not.
Oh, yeah, you are. You are. I could tell that your whole story was a little bit smelly. But about this, I know for sure you're lying, because he's telling me the truth. You caused a whole lot of trouble that night.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. David Gonzalez says he was assaulted and his car was vandalized by Heath Stoddard. Heath claims David sexually assaulted his friend.
Go ahead.
After that, what had happened was when I came outside, they were sitting over, my cousin and my friend were sitting over there with her talking, and she called my name near the pool area.
Go ahead.
She called my name to tell, she said, Obed, do something, and I said, guys, leave her alone.
What were they doing?
She was sitting on his lap while my friend was standing up talking to her.
Well, what did it appear as if they were doing?
Sitting and talking, that's what I thought they were doing.
Okay, was she crying at that point?
No, ma'am.
Was she screaming at that point?
No, ma'am.
When you came out and you said, guys, leave her alone, did she get up?
Yes, she did. She got up, and so did they, and I took them to the store to put gas in their car.
And then you came back?
Yes, ma'am, because they dropped me off. They had to go back to where they lived.
Do you know Heath?
Yes, ma'am, I do. He lives right across the breezeway from me.
You think Heath knew that she had said, why don't you call David and have him come over?
No, ma'am, because he came and asked me earlier on after the incident happened. He asked me some questions, and I told him she told him that she had nobody, you know, that she was just staying with him, you know, just to live there. She didn't say that she was dating him.
According to you, Amanda, this was a pretty terrible experience. Is that right?
Yes.
When did you contact the police, and can I see the police report?
The cops were called while the fight was occurring.
Can I see the report, please? Who Who called the police?
I'm not sure.
There was a lady that lived upstairs, and she called the cops.
Is that the only police report you had? This has nothing to do with the assault.
That is the assault.
No, this is what you allege happened to you. What happened to the assault on these guys?
I couldn't get access to it. I tried.
Did you file one?
Yes, I did.
When?
On that night as well, August 26th.
Now, what happened with these allegations, Miss Payne?
We went to court several times in Bethany, and at every hearing that we had, it got continued, and then finally they dismissed it and told me to go file in Oklahoma County because they didn't want to deal with it anymore. They thought it was a more serious matter.
Were you ever arrested?
No, ma'am, I was not.
There was never an arrest with regard to your allegations of sex abuse, madam.
I never went back and filed.
Why?
Because they had made a police report on Heath, and I didn't want them to go forward with pursuing Heath because I didn't think he was in the wrong, and I was tired of going through it.
When did they make the police report against Heath?
The same night.
First?
No.
You know that I don't believe you when you say that you didn't tell him to call David to come over?
You might not believe me, but I didn't.
Because you knew these two young men. There were other people around in the complex that night. If somebody grabbed you by the arm to walk you over to the pool area, all you had to do was scream and say, "Let go, help me, somebody help me," which you didn't do. Which you didn't do, because they would have heard you.
There were two guys. There were two of them.
They were not armed, madam. You knew who they were. All you had to do was scream, "Somebody help me." You didn't do that.
I hollered for Sam.
Let me see the damage to your car, please.
You want to see the estimates as well?
Yep. I'm going to get back to you in a second, Sam. Sometimes things are not as they appear. Now, you had options. Your option was, instead of going out there and starting trouble, you go into the house and you call 911 and you report an alleged attempted rape and you wait for the police, right?
Could have done that.
Is that the right thing to do?
That is the right thing to do.
Would you say that if I am correct, that Amanda over here asked Obed to call his cousin David, and she wouldn't want to say that now because things got out of hand that night, right? Right? Things got out of hand with you and with Heath that night, right? But if I am correct that she wanted David to come over just to talk, you would have been wrong to get involved with this, to confront and assault him, right?
If
the passenger in the car?
If she hadn't.
I'm saying to you, if I am correct.
If you are correct. I see what you're saying, yes.
How old are you?
30.
I'm older. What kind of work do you do?
At the time, I was a detention officer for a juvenile detention center.
And now?
Now I manage group homes for people with developmental disabilities.
Well, my job for the last 30 years or so has been to figure out who was telling the truth and who's telling a lie. That's my job.
Right.
So I have more experience than you do. So you have to rely on me when I say to you, she asked Obed to call his cousin. Now, if you knew that then, would you have confronted the passenger in the car?
Not in that case.
Right. Okay. Boy, if I were one of two guys that attempted to rape somebody, I wouldn't go put gas in my car and come back to the same place. That just doesn't sound right. Once I got in my car, I would leave and not come back. Say, boy, hope this blows over. Wouldn't you?
They may have thought nothing was going to happen.
Maybe they thought nothing was going to happen because nothing happened. That's a possibility, isn't it?
That is a possibility.
I know that Heath would like to believe everything that she says. It's not true. And what you two gentlemen should have done was to pick up the phone and call the police so that in the event that something did happen to this young lady, the police would have dealt with it. They weren't going anywhere. They had just come back. What kind of car do you have, sir?
1995 Mazda 626.
The estimate that you have probably is worth more than the car is worth. There's a lot of damage to the car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We were about to leave home, and then the cops come over, and they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, here's his papers, sexual assault and battery. I was like, what?
She just speculated and made her own ruling, and, you know, she didn't even ask me what happened, you know, my side or anything.
Basically, she ran the game on everybody.
They're lying. They wanted their money, and that's what they're getting.
Her story was whack. Everything she said was whack. All three of them were whack, and that's what they get.
I just feel really bad for Amanda.
It escalated to fighting and beer bottles hitting windows.
I saw red. I was ready to take someone down.
Thanks, Judge Judy. You rock.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Webb versus Batum. Step forward.
21-year-old Philip Webb is suing his ex-fiancée, 19-year-old cashier Crystal Batum, for rent and the return of a wedding ring set. Crystal says Philip is stalking her.
Are you scared to death or just unhappy?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Cheer up. It's only money. Mr. Webb, Ms. Batum used to be your girlfriend. You lived together for a period of time at some point in your mother's house. Is this your mother?
Yes.
You broke up and you claimed that Ms. Batum came to the house and she took a ring set that you purchased.
Yes.
You want the ring set back. And in addition, you say that Ms. Batum also owes you for a month's rent.
Yeah, for her half of the rent.
Her half of the rent when you were living at your mother's house.
Yes.
Ms. Batum says she paid for the ring set and that there was never any arrangement to pay rent to your mother. Neither of you ever paid rent to your mother. Is that right?
Yeah.
When did you start to live with Ms. Batum in your mother's house?
In August, my mother...
August of what year?
2004. My mother had spoke with us in August and told us, you know, now that, you know, both of us are working with a steady income, you know, she wanted us to pay $300 a month rent.
Mm-hmm.
And then September 23rd is when she left. And
did she agree to pay your mother $300 a month rent?
Yes, we both did.
When in August did your mother have this conversation with you?
Around the middle of the month.
And when did she expect you to start to pay rent?
She expected us to start to pay rent the following month.
In September?
Yes.
And she moved out in September?
She moved out in the end of September.
Mr. Webb, you got to get over this. So did you pay your mother $300 on September 1st? You have a check for that, I assume?
No, I paid her cash. I paid her around the middle of the month when I had gotten my paycheck.
And what about in October? Did you pay her in October?
No, I had moved out.
When in October?
I moved out around the 5th, 6th of October.
And you mean you didn't pay her for October? For the first 6 days in October? You understand what I'm saying to you,
Yeah,
Mr.
I
Webb? Well,
understand.
you're getting my gist. Stop being petty. Now let's forget about the rent. And let's go to the ring set.
The ring set, I have the receipt where I purchased it.
Good. Do you have the proof that you paid for it?
I paid in cash. So,
Really? Let me see.
And the lady's business card that sold it to me.
I want to
I have
see what
that
you
also.
have. And then Ms. Batum says that she paid for the ring set. So we're going to see. Paid for the ring set. This says paid $500, tax included. Now, Ms. Batum, you left sometime in September.
Yeah.
You had an argument, or you just decided things
No,
weren't
I got tired of everything and I just up and left.
Tell me why you took the ring set.
Well, because we both went in halves on it. We went to the bank, we pulled out some of the money, and then he went back and gave them the rest. And it wasn't $500, it was $300.
Well, he has a receipt that he paid for this.
Well, I have the rings, so.
We have them. Do you have any proof whatsoever, Miss Batum, that you paid for these rings?
No, because it came out of the ATM.
Okay. Good. Very nice. He gets them back. Perfect. Anything else?
No, that's it.
I want him to leave me alone, too, because I have a restraining order against him. And on February 12th, he mailed me a letter.
Can I see the letter? Can I see a copy of a restraining order? You attended a hearing, Mr. Webb, with regard to this restraining order?
Yes.
Did you consent to the restraining order?
I consented, but I didn't agree with it because
I don't care
a
whether
lot
you
of it
agreed
was...
with it or not. You consented to it.
Yes,
you were
I
to
did.
stay away within 100 yards from her
And I have
from
done
her home and from her job, right?
Yes.
Was her birthday?
Yes.
That's why you sent these?
Yes.
You're not allowed to send them.
I didn't know that. I just was told I had to stay away from her work and stay away from her.
Listen to me, Mr. Webb. You were served with a copy of this protective order.
Yes.
In this protective order, it not only says that you have to stay 100 yards away from her, it reads, and I'm going to read it to you very carefully. You may not do the following. You may not contact her directly or indirectly, or telephone, send messages, or mail or email. Now, while this is not threatening,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's a love letter. You're not understanding that it's over and that she doesn't want you to have any contact with her. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
You don't want to get into any further difficulty. Is there any other thing that I have to resolve with regard to property or anything else?
Yeah, I have one more thing. I left my birth certificate there. I need my birth certificate back.
Okay. Now you can stand up. Your last name is Webb?
Correct.
You have her birth certificate?
I do.
Okay. I want you to give her birth certificate to your mother. Your mother is going to mail it to this court. This court will see to it that you get it.
Okay.
May I say something, please?
Yes.
I know you already went over the rent issue, but I have to bring it up again. It was August 2003. She was the only one with a job at that point.
I'm telling you, you spoke to her in the middle of August. She moved out in September. We're talking about petty stuff, Miss Webb.
I understand that, but
I'm telling you that you're talking about petty stuff. Your son moved out into the month of October. Did you sue him for the rent?
No, because he
Just
did
a
give me a
second.
full...
Just a second. Did you sue him for the rent?
No, I did not,
Of
ma'am.
course not, because you're not petty. Right? Your son has to get over the fact that she doesn't want to have anything to do with him anymore. And you should, as his mother, not exacerbate it. You should say, listen.
No, I just want what's going, and she owes the rent.
Well, I think that you should speak to your son about it.
He already paid her half.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did.
Okay, good. You have a check?
No.
You have
No,
a check?
he paid me in cash
You have
for
a check?
$300.
Good. I don't believe you. Sit down. There is no need for you to contact her anymore. Put a period. You have the rings. You're not to email her, mail her, phone her, follow her, be within 100 yards of her. Got it?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. The fact that I've told this to you doesn't prevent her from going back to court and saying you violated the order. She can still do that. I don't know whether she wants to do that, but what she wants is she wants you to know unequivocally that you're not to have any contact with her. Clear?
Yes, I'm
Good.
perfectly
That's
clear.
all.
Step down. Sir, you're right here.
I was out with my friend and he was accusing me of cheating on him.
Well, she was cheating on me.
She told me that she was going to go out with a guy from work, and she was gone all day.
I'm just glad it's over with. He's a loser. I'm glad I'm done with him.
Now it just kind of, I'm more mad about it now than I am heartbroken.
Former Clifford Johnson is suing bail bondsman Michael Fidelis for attorney fees after Michael refused to surrender a bailee.
Yeah, this is case number 511 on the calendar, the matter of Johnson versus Fidelis. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mr. Johnson, did you ever hear the expression when you were growing up, good guys finish last?
Yes, I have heard it, and I found that out.
You're the good guy.
Yes, I am.
I don't necessarily think he's the bad guy. Let me see if I can explain to my comrade over here what this case is about. You had an employee,
Right.
a woman.
Yes.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm in the plumbing business, service and repair.
And what did this woman do for you?
She answered telephones and did some light office work.
And then there came a time when she was arrested.
Correct.
What was she arrested for?
It was 3 felony drug charges.
And she asked you if you would post her bail.
Correct.
And here's where we get the good guys finish last. You said, okay.
I didn't say okay right away. She called me 6 times begging to get me out, begging to get her out, and I wasn't going to do it. Then she said, look, I'll sign my cover with you if you get me out. I said, are you sure you want to do that? I says, okay, I'll get you out. So I didn't think there was going to be that big of a deal. It did turn out to be a big deal, though.
So you posted the bail and with this gentleman.
Mr. Fidelis, yes.
And how much did you have to actually give him in cash?
It was $2,515. The bail was $25,000, 10%.
And that means that if she failed to appear, since you are saying I will vouch for her, you would have been responsible for the entire $25,000 if she chose not to appear.
Correct. That's the way the contract is written, yes.
Is that correct so far?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Bare bones. And subsequently, she was terminated from her job.
Correct.
You got nervous.
Well, she became...
So you called Mr. Fidelis.
Correct.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I told her, I says, the only reason I'll go to the bail bondsman right now to have you put back in jail is because you don't have any place to go outside the state of California. She goes, oh, yes, I do. And I also know the state of California would never come and extradite me. And I advised her the financial risk I took in getting her out of jail. So after hearing this, I then contacted Mr. Fidelis about to say, I want her back in jail. I want out of this bond. And on the 28th...
Just a second. We're not...
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
Don't get ahead of me.
Okay.
So you contacted Mr. Fidelis. Mr. Fidelis did not pick her up.
I did not pick her up, Your Honor.
And that caused you to hire an attorney.
Correct.
To go to court, make a motion to have this bail forfeited. Plus you had to lose days at your business because
Correct.
You went to several court hearings.
Yes.
And you want Mr. Fidelis to pay you back for your legal fees and for your lost time at work because
Correct.
He didn't pick her up and get you off the hook. That's what your lawsuit.
Basically, yes.
So you contacted Mr. Fidelis, and Mr. Fidelis said what?
He agreed to pick her up. He signed a document. He and I both signed it on the 28th of June.
Can I see it, please?
Your Honor, I did not agree to pick her up.
Just a second, I want to see the document that he says you signed that you would pick her up. This is a request for
Correct.
Surrender of defendants.
Correct.
And release from liability, and it says that you have information that would lead the court to believe that there is increased potential for the defendant's flight. You signed it, and he signed it.
Correct.
Where does it say here that he agrees to pick her up?
He agreed verbally that he would...
Just a second. He doesn't say here that he agrees to pick her up.
I understand that document there, yes.
Okay.
But he did tell me, in this letter that I did address to him, that he would have his people pick her up. Okay, he agreed. He quoted me a fee. I asked him what it was going to be. It's going to be $500 to $600. He says, fine, pick her up. I'll pay it. He never would. He had me sitting around the office with her because I wanted to be there, make sure she was there, so there wasn't going to be any problems.
What date was this?
It was signed on the 28th. On the 30th, I called him to notify her that she could come, that he could come pick her up, which he never did. He kept promising he was going to pick her up. Here's bail agent.
Just a second. You said to him on the 30th, he signed this, and you signed this.
It was signed on the 28th.
And then on the 30th, you called him and said, well, come pick her up. She's in the office.
Right.
Just a second.
I'm sorry.
And what did he say to you?
He told me that he was going to contact his bail agent and that he would have her picked up. I kept calling him about every 30 minutes asking, why are they here? He would never call me back. And then he promised me he was going to come personally and pick her up and take her into custody before the day was out. He never showed up.
Okay. Now, what happened on that day, sir, the 30th of June?
I don't recall that day, Your Honor. On the 25th...
25th of what?
The plaintiff of June, 2004.
I'm talking about the 30th, 2 days after you signed this request for surrender.
Nothing happened that day, Your Honor.
Well, he says that he contacted your office several times.
No, these are all false statements that the plaintiff is making.
Okay. Did you know this lady from any previous time? Had you ever had any previous dealings with her?
No, Your Honor.
She was a stranger to you?
Yes.
What did you tell Mr. Johnson when you signed this?
If at any time she became a risk, at any time, you would have to justify and give good cause to surrender her over to the court. Now,
Just a second, how did you tell him to do that?
By picking her up himself and surrendering her over to the proper authorities.
Did you tell him, just a second.
Yes.
Did you tell him that?
Yes,
that he
I
has
did.
the right to take her by the arm
Yes.
and bring her to court. You
Yes.
told him that?
Yes, Your Honor.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
No, you didn't. You know, I can tell that because you looked at the floor when you said that. I don't believe it, and I don't believe that it's even appropriate for somebody to grab somebody else by the arm and say, I'm dragging you to court. I can just imagine what would go on in this town if that happened. It would be a free-for-all. So he's saying to listen to me, he's saying to a professional, I want you to pick her up.
I cannot, Your Honor.
Fine. Then you have to tell him what to do.
And I did. I gave him all the information. By the laws of the state, he could have done whatever he wished at that point.
Then what does this say, sir? Then what is this for? What is this surrender document
the
for?
Surrender document?
Just so that You're on alert for something?
Your Honor, that document is a standard document that is required when and if you surrender the defendant over. He did not show good cause.
Just a second. He did not show good cause.
For the surrender of the defendant.
To whom?
To myself.
Ah, here we go.
Yes.
Well, we're going to get there. I want to tell you something. We're going to get there to where I want to be, whether you like it or not. We understand each other?
Yes, Your Honor.
So what you're saying is what he told you about the conversation that he had with this lady was not sufficient in your judgment to pick her up?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ah, right.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Says bail bondsman Michael Fidelis owes for attorney fees and lost wages. Clifford says when Michael refused to surrender a bailee, he had to hire a lawyer.
Now, in June, did she make a court appearance?
Yes, I actually have the docket showing she made over 9 appearances, each and every time over a 7-month duration.
Did there ever come a time she failed to appear?
No, she did not.
Is that correct, sir?
No, it's not correct. She failed to appear on December 1st, and I have the court document where the judge issued a $50,000 warrant for arrest.
Let me see both documents, please, Bert.
Right here, highlighted.
On December 1st, bail was exonerated. That's when you had a lawyer come in with you?
They posted the day before with the court.
He has bench warrant issued.
Warrant, Your Honor, if...
Bail is set at $50,000, mandatory appearance.
Well, Your Honor, she had hired private counsel, and her presence was not required on December 1st. That's why the bond was exonerated and not forfeited on December 1st. If she was ordered to appear on December 1st and she was not present, the bond would have been forfeited, not exonerated, regardless the motion defense counsel, the third party for the plaintiff, had filed.
The judge on the same date issued a bench warrant for her arrest with $50,000 bail, sir.
Yes.
If she wasn't required to be there, he wouldn't have issued a warrant for her.
Then why wasn't she detained on December 16th?
I don't know, sir, why she wasn't detained on December 16th.
That's obviously an error in the court.
All I'm telling you is a bench warrant was issued for her on December 1st. Your problem, Mr. Johnson, is that after June, when you requested that he pick her up,
yes,
she appeared June 17th, July 19th, August 2nd, September 20th, October 13th, November 2nd. She appeared on all those dates.
She sure did.
She sure did. Well, you got a problem, sir. That's why nice guys finish last. She did
Honor.
make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 appearances before December 12th.
Your Honor, from the attorneys that represented me, they told me that there's a California law that
Listen
requires...
to me. You cannot tell me what the attorneys told you. That's hearsay. And what I'm telling you is I'm trying to be reasonable with you. I don't think that he's being honest with me as to what your conversations were with each other, and also initially whether or not he had a responsibility to act on your information. But if I look at the objective data, Mr. Johnson, this defendant, not this defendant, but this defendant did in fact make 6 court appearances. And you had the ability during each of those court appearances to go in, to hire a lawyer, do the exact same thing as you did on December 1st and say, listen, I have this information and I don't want to be responsible for this bail anymore. Ultimately, the case was resolved.
She was sentenced to jail.
Ultimately, the case was resolved. She pled guilty, but she did in fact appear on 6 other court dates.
She barely made 2 of those court payments.
Your Honor.
Mr. Johnson, nice guys finish last. Don't post bond for anybody anymore. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This is crazy.
What I think is a real motive is he has something going on with her.
No, I do not. I personally think, after speaking with the defendant in the criminal case, that he wanted something more than an employee-employee relationship.
He was calling her, trying to get her to go out and date. On a date is what he was doing.
I do not appreciate his defamatory and slandering comments.
There are other girls in my office that told me this stuff. They overheard conversation between him and her.
I explained to her, I have nothing to do with that. You need to appear in court when you're ordered to and finish your case.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Osborne versus Lacey. Step forward, please.
Truck driver Charles Osborne is suing his former friend, writer Michael Lacey, for injuries due to a car accident. Charles says he was a backseat passenger when Michael choked on coffee and drove his car off the road.
Mr. Osborne.
Yes, ma'am.
You were a passenger in a car that was being driven by Mr. Lacey, according to your complaint. I don't know where you gentlemen were on your way to, but you're going to tell me you were sitting in the back seat. According to what I read, there was an accident, you were injured, and you want to be compensated for your medical bills, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Mr. Lacey says this was an accident and you weren't wearing your seatbelt and whatever. Take care of your own medical expenses.
Yes, ma'am.
What were you doing in Mr. Lacey's car?
Mr. Lacey had been commandeered by my business partner, Frank Owen, to drive us to Rushville, to small claims court.
Who had to be in small claims court?
Mr. Owen did.
And what happened, sir?
We were eastbound on Route 52, and Mr. Lacey had just passed a car doing about 58, 60 miles an hour. And he had taken a drink of coffee at the time, and when he did, he choked on the coffee. He held the accelerator to the floor. We went off to the side of the road. Frank was in the front seat. He tried to grab the wheel to hold it on the road. And I had pulled my seatbelt off quick and tried to jump over the seat to grab the wheel. But at that time, when we went off the road, and the car ended up going over some ravines and went catty-corner into a telephone pole, which hit like the rear door. And I slammed the door, knocked the power window buttons out of the door, broke the window out with my head. And the next time then we finally stopped, dead, and the airbag went off, and Mr. Lacey turned around to me and he said, I believe we were in an automobile accident.
I believe you were right. Can I see those pictures? I'm anxious to see.
Sure.
So I assume that
it's the same paper. So
it's the same paper.
This looks okay.
Can't believe I'm going to get paid for reading the paper. So this says that both passengers, both you and Mr. Owen, were taken to the hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
What were the extent of your injuries?
I had a collapsed lung, and I still have the problem. I can move my head over this far on the left, and I can come all the way over on the right, but I still can't move it completely right.
Well, what would you have to move it all the way over for? What particular exercise?
I probably wouldn't unless I was looking at
I'm just curious.
I don't know, Your Honor.
Wait. Doctor, it hurts when I do this.
No,
Don't do that.
No, I'm just curious. What is it in your life, in your work or social life or whatever, that would require you to go all the way over on you?
Well, I'm a truck driver, and I have to leave my head out the window a lot of times to see the cars.
Well, you go out like this. You don't go down like this, right?
Well, I go like this to
yeah, you go right just like that. That's enough.
Okay. All right.
Seems to me that's enough.
Okay.
So you don't have any long-term disability. You had some short-term problems. Let me see that medical bills, please,
Okay.
and what the doctor had to say about you.
Have an ambulance bill and a hospital bill and a doctor bill.
Okay.
But the one's gone into collection, so but they're all together, same dates.
Okay, Mr. Lacey, why shouldn't you be responsible for this? Didn't you have insurance?
I did not have insurance. It had lapsed.
Oh, Mr. Lacey, that's a big problem for you, sir.
Yes, I realize that, Your Honor.
Well, then why don't you think that you personally should be responsible for this? You were at fault in this accident.
I was at fault in the accident, but the plaintiff here says that he was injured and he was out of the car walking around when I regained consciousness from the airbag and did not exhibit any signs of trauma until the ambulance arrived. And then when the ambulance did arrive, he immediately went into a convulsed state and, made it sound like there was something wrong. And the rest of us were all walking around. He had been walking around.
Well, Mr. Owen was taken to the hospital, sir.
Mr. Owen was not taken to the hospital.
According to this, he was.
He was not.
Well, he was. And you're responsible. And if he wanted to go and get himself checked out, that's his prerogative. Mr. Osborne, you're suing for $5,000, sir. Why?
The hospital bills were $2,100.
Correct.
I was off work for 3 weeks, and I'm a percentage driver. I'm paid average about $820 a week.
Well, you have to show me something that indicates to me, sir, that you received medical treatment during the course of those 3 weeks, and the reason that you were out of work for 3 weeks was as a result of your injuries. Do you have medical records?
No, I don't. I didn't go see the doctor afterwards.
Well, that's unfortunate, sir. If I were out of work for 3 weeks, I would go see a doctor. You want to say anything?
Yes, I would, Your Honor. After leaving the hospital, Mr. Osborne walked to a nearby Pizza Hut to smoke a cigarette and drink a pop.
Did you do that, Mr. Osborne?
Oh, yes, I did.
With a collapsed lung?
I did walk like I was jogging the 500, but I made it over there.
I mean, is what you're telling me, with a collapsed lung, you went over, you had a drink and a cigarette.
I tried to have the cigarette. I had the drive.
All right. Mr. Lacey, you are responsible minimally for his medical bills. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Otherwise was an accident, and I don't think there was anything irresponsible other than the fact that perhaps you were drinking a cup of coffee and you choked on it. Maybe you should just concentrate on your driving. So you are responsible for his medical bills, not $5,000 for his being out of work, for his being uncomfortable, for whatever else. I don't have any proof of that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,100. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He told me to have him mail the bills there, that he would settle up with them.
Mr. Osborne did have legitimate medical bills.
He doesn't have enough money to afford his alcoholism yet to pay that, so...
Well, I do know that he has a drug habit.
Well, he's going to say what he wants to say, so I'll just let him say it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Barclay versus Korn. Step forward.
Child care provider Mary Barclay is suing her former client, Marie Korn, for unpaid babysitting fees. Marie says Mary's home wasn't a safe environment for her children.
Miss Barclay, you were hired by Miss Korn to babysit for her children. And according to you, you had the following arrangement. She was receiving money from the state for child care, I gather, because of her income. And you were to receive money from the state to take care of the children. In addition, according to you, you claim that you had an agreement that if you babysat additional periods of time, she would pay you over and above what the state paid. It is your claim that you were paid by the state, but were not paid for the overtime that you worked for Miss Korn. That's what your case is about.
Yes.
And Ms. Korn says that you were paid everything that was agreed upon, which was the amount of money that the state paid for babysitting, and she removed the children because of what she perceived to be inadequate care. Ms. Barclay, do you babysit for a living? Do you have daycare facility?
I babysit other children in my home.
And how many children?
Probably 3. I watch my grandsons a lot.
How many grandsons do you have?
2.
And how many children did Ms. Korn have?
2.
So you had 4 children in your house.
Mm-hmm.
When did you start to babysit for Ms. Korn's children?
March 19th, I do believe.
And when did you cease babysitting for her?
August 10th, 2004.
How many days a week?
5 days a week.
What time to what time?
Her hours varied.
And did you fill out a timesheet for the state?
Yes, I did.
And were you paid according to that timesheet?
I was paid for the state's part.
What do you mean you were paid for the state's part?
The state only allows a certain amount of hours a month to be paid.
And how many hours is that?
180.
So it's about 8 or 9 hours a day. Is that right?
Or more.
Okay, so let me hear.
Well, I babysit a lot longer than that. She is responsible for anything that the state did not pay.
Show me your agreement with her, Miss Barclay.
We don't have a written agreement, but I told her that she was responsible for anything that the state did not pay.
And what did she say to you?
She said, okay.
Well, in the month of April of 2004, did you babysit more than the 180 hours?
Yes, I did.
Did she pay you any money?
No.
In the month of May, did you babysit for more than the 180 hours?
Yes.
Did she pay you any money?
No.
In June, did she pay you any money?
No.
Yes.
Well,
yes.
I paid a co-payment. She paid me $25, but not until July 9th.
What was the $25 for?
That was a co-payment.
What is a co-payment?
The state paid a certain amount, and I was responsible for $25.
Just $25? Mm-hmm. Is that what it says in your state contract?
That's what it said, yes. They sent me a form saying I owed her $25 for my co-payment.
How much did you receive from the state each full month that you babysat for the children?
The most they would pay me was $594.
So $600 a month. Is that right?
Yeah.
And I assume you got the maximum each month.
Yes.
And at the same time, you were home with your 2 grandsons. Is that right? So you were home anyway and making an extra $600. Now, did you have an agreement with Ms. Barclay to pay her money over and above what the state paid?
Yes.
And how much were you supposed to pay her?
I don't know. We asked her several times for a figure, and she never gave me the hours.
So when for the first time did she ask you for additional money?
About June.
And tell me about the conversation.
She said that she was having problems having her house payment, making her house payment, and she needed the extra money then, and asked me when I could pay it. My husband asked her for the hours that we owed her, and she did not give it to him several times. He asked her.
Did you have an agreement to pay her additional hours prior to June?
Yes.
So you owe her for the additional hours?
Not as much as she says.
Did you have her, Miss Barkley, for the months that you babysat, sign something at the end of each month indicating the number of hours that you worked?
Yes.
Can I see it, please?
I don't have that copy, but I have the receipt from the state that shows all the hours and the amount I billed and how much that...
Well, let me see.
And here's a breakdown of it.
I don't want a breakdown. I want to see what the state sent you. That's very simple. Not what you wrote for this case, but what the state sent you. Oh, well, it's very easy because it says here parent amount. Okay. Since you acknowledged that you had an arrangement with her that you were going to make payments over and above what the state paid her for the time that she watched the children during the hours that you were supposed to be working, you acknowledged that.
Right.
And the state authorized certain payments, and you acknowledged that you were supposed to pay her what the state did not authorize. You owe her $1,315 unless there was a reason why you shouldn't pay it. Is there?
At the time, my kids were not in a safe environment. She was not just watching her grandchildren and my children. There was a 13-year-old there who was hitting and kicking my daughter.
When did you find out about that?
My daughter came home and had a bruise on her stomach.
When?
That was in June.
She continued to babysit, according to this, until August. So one of your children came home with a bruise in her stomach, and you let her stay there?
As long as the 13-year-old wasn't there.
Well, when did you have a discussion with her about the 13-year-old?
She's the one that told me that she had let her do it because my daughter has a problem with her mouth. No, I don't allow other kids to hit kids in my care, Your Honor. That is definitely forbidden with me. I've seen it.
Well, listen to me.
Hello.
Listen to me. I can't believe that a normal parent, if she felt as if her children were being abused in your home, would leave your children there.
It happened once, Your Honor.
Well, then you didn't think it was so serious.
At the time, I thought my daughter had lied to me.
Well, then that's not a reason not to pay her the money that you owed her.
But then when my husband asked her to account for the hours, she couldn't.
Well, now we know that the state's accounted for the hours. Say anything?
Yes, I do.
Say it fast.
We'd like to say there was 3 or 4 times that the kids were dropped off at our house to the gentleman, our next-door neighbor, and he would just open our door and just let the kids loose. I mean, there was nobody there watching their kids at all, and that's towards the end when we finally found a different babysitter.
Why did you let your children go back there?
We didn't after that.
Yeah, we didn't after that.
You said there were 3 or 4 times. The first time somebody would drop off my children who were babies like this and just put them in a house would be the last time they would babysit. Why did you bring the children back there for it to happen another 3 times?
We don't have other options with a babysitter.
His mother...
I wanted to explain something to you. Let's keep our fingers crossed for these children.
Okay.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,315.
You are excused. You may step out.
The state says we owe the money, then we owe the money. I watched her kids a lot. However, I would not put my kids at her home again. If she'd had a problem, she would have taken the kids a long time ago. I certainly learned a valuable lesson. She never once said anything to me. I learned that I don't trust anybody with my children. I don't know. It's rude. You don't go around doing that to people that watch your children. Definitely I picked my friends and my daycare providers a lot more carefully.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McLaurin versus Hoffman. Step forward, please.
27-year-old student Kelly McLaurin is suing her ex-fiancé, 22-year-old product representative Armin Hoffman, for wrecking her car and losing 2 of her rings. Armin says he financially supported Kelly throughout their relationship.
Miss McLaurin, you were engaged to Mr. Hoffman. Is your claim that he took 2 rings, one the engagement ring that he had given to you, and the other an engagement ring that someone else had given to you? He took them for whatever reason, and he lost them. You want to be reimbursed for those rings. And in addition, after you broke up, but you have a child together?
Yes.
He used your car to drive your daughter someplace, and he had an accident in the car. You want him to pay to have the car fixed. Mr. Hoffman says that he took the rings because he wanted to teach you a
lesson.
And the lesson was?
She kept leaving the rings laying around, and she seemed like she didn't even care that she had them.
So you wanted to teach her a lesson in responsibility. And then
I lost them.
You lost the rings.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not how many battles you won and lost. Did you win or lose the war? You lost the war. The only problem with the rings are, Miss McLaurin, is the engagement ring you had to return to him anyway.
Actually, when we broke up the second time, I gave him the ring back, and he said he did not want it and to keep it. And
he didn't mean it. The engagement ring that he gave you, you had to give back to him. Now tell me about this other ring that he took and lost.
It was an engagement ring from a former relationship.
Well, what did it look like, and how much is it worth?
I picked it out back in '95, and we purchased it for $1,500.
Can I see it, please?
And that was back in '95. I do not have a receipt. He has the receipts and everything. It was a princess cut ring, 3 stones, a total of a ½ carat.
And you lost it?
Yes, ma'am. When I moved out of Miss McLaurin's house, in the process of moving, I lost the rings.
So you have to pay for it?
Honestly, I don't think the ring was worth $1,500.
How do we know?
Just, it didn't seem like it was all that when I've seen it.
Well, Mr. Hoffman, the reason you told me you took the ring is because you wanted to teach her responsibility and not leaving it around. I assume that you would not have taken the ring if the ring wasn't worth very much. What difference did it make if she left it around? Thank you.
Well, the point was, when we were together, she'd always leave the engagement ring that I've given her. She'd always leave it around. Instead of wearing it, she'd leave it on top of the microwave or on the counter. It just never where it's supposed to be. I wanted to teach her a lesson, but I never intended.
Okay, so you taught her a very pricey lesson. You have to pay for the ring. Now let's talk about the car. You had an accident while you were driving in her car. After you had already broken up, you were driving your daughter someplace?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about the accident, Mr. Hoffman.
She wanted me to get my daughter's haircut, which I said fine. We didn't want to change the car seat out, which I didn't have the car seat in my car at the time. So
you didn't have a car seat in your car. She did.
Yes.
So?
We decided to exchange cars. She said, just take my car, and I'll borrow yours. She went to Walmart. I went to go get my daughter's haircut. I don't think I'm responsible for the damages because for the entire time that I've known Ms. McLaurin, she hasn't worked. I took care of her. I paid the bills. Even after we broke up, I paid some of the bills for her to help her out.
That's good.
Yes, and also after we split up, I was paying child support, and if she needed anything extra, I would try to help out with it.
Well, that's nice. You have to pay child support because you have a child. Who's supposed to pay child support for your child? Me?
I'm not
Bert?
saying
He's
nothing
got his own
about,
children.
I'm not saying nothing about
So,
child
and
support.
if you gave her something extra because you had extra, that was very nice of you. You don't have to do that. You have to pay for the car because you had an accident. It was your fault. How much was the car?
I have estimates.
What's the cheapest estimate?
$1172.03.
Show it to him. Got it, Mr. Hoffman?
Yes, ma'am.
Got to pay $1,500 for the rings and $1172 to fix the car because you had the accident. Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $2,672. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I work a lot. She stayed at home. We didn't mesh well.
Every time I washed the dishes, I did put the rings down, but however, I did pick them back up again, and I put them right back on.
She told me that I stole the rings from her and that I shouldn't have done it. And I said, well, I was trying to teach you the lesson, and you shouldn't leave the stuff around that I give you.
Now I can go and get my car fixed, and everybody's happy.
18-year-old warehouse worker Kim Denning and her mother Kathy are suing Kim's cousin, propeller engineer Alan DeVellin, for the return of a computer and for unauthorized charges on a credit card.
All rise. This is case number 295 on the calendar, the matter of Denning versus DeVellin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Denning, this is your daughter, is that right?
Yes, she is.
One face. You don't see it. It's like looking in a mirror.
She's much prettier.
She's younger. That's all. That's all. Just younger. She's lucky if she's your age and she turns out as nice looking as you are. Anyway, this is your daughter and this is your nephew.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your nephew took advantage of your daughter, sold a computer that you had given her, used a credit card. Your daughter's 18, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't heard what she has to say about it, but your nephew, who has had some history, according to you, with the law and had been incarcerated for 9 years?
No.
How long?
7.
7 years. He's back to his old tricks and really took property that didn't belong to him and used a credit card without permission. He says that your daughter had some trouble. She needed some money. She sold him the computer. He sold it to somebody else.
Yes.
And he did use her credit card, gave her the money
Yes.
for the things that he used, and he has done absolutely nothing wrong. Now, Kim, there came a time when you left your mother's home, is that right?
Yes.
When was that?
June 30th.
June of 2004.
Yes.
Where did you go?
I was going to pick up my cousin to have him go with me to Texas.
You were going to Texas. Where did you live?
At that time, I was with my grandma.
How long had you been with your grandmother?
A couple weeks.
How come?
I just wanted to live with my grandma.
Had you had an argument with your mother?
I just didn't want to have her curfew anymore.
Kim, did you have an argument with your mother?
Yes.
All right. Now, you picked up your cousin, and he was taking you to Texas. Or you were driving to Texas, but to see your boyfriend. Why were you taking your cousin with you?
I didn't want to go alone.
Is that so far correct?
Yeah.
Now, what credit card bills, Kim, do you say Alan racked up on your credit cards that he didn't pay you for?
I allowed him to use my Sears credit card once, and I gave him the card, and he never paid to make the payments, and he never made a payment on that.
What was he supposed to buy on the Sears credit card?
The only purchase that I said he could use was for some tires for his truck, and he said he would pay me back as soon as he got his first paycheck.
And how much were the tires on his truck?
They were $300 and something, ma'am.
$383.
Did you give up the money back?
I've been paying payments, to my aunt and my cousin.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Yeah, right.
Show me.
I don't have any receipts from her. My aunt was supposed to drop them off at my grandmother's house.
Oh, that's a lie.
Yeah,
Listen, Miss Denning, if you speak out again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Been warned?
Yes.
Warned?
Uh-huh.
You understand?
I do.
Don't speak to him.
I also have a thing from a Sears credit card where I took full responsibility of the credit card.
Let me see.
There you go. From City Financial.
Let me see that.
Okay, this says the balance amount is $484.68. Part of that was for tires.
Right.
And part of it was for what else?
There was I think like a mattress cover on there and a watch.
So, Alan, you agree that these are your purchases?
Yes, I do.
So it doesn't make any difference, Alan, whether you pay this money to the plaintiff so that she makes sure that her credit is clean and not having to rely on you, right?
Well, if I'm paying the credit card company.
Listen to me, Alan. It wouldn't make any difference to you whether you paid the credit card company or whether you paid the plaintiff. Just because you agree to accept responsibility doesn't mean that they're letting her off the hook.
I'm not saying
doesn't
I'm
say
not saying
that
that they're letting her off the hook. They already tried to file criminal charges on me on all this. That takes it out of their name and puts it in mine.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I've already
Alan,
talked to the Sears.
Alan, my dear, that is not what it says. All it says is you've agreed to take responsibility for it. That doesn't say that if you don't pay, they cannot go against the card holder. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Good. So you owe a $484.68. What else?
There was a JCPenney's that I had bought him some clothes from there, and he said he would also pay those back, and he never paid that back either.
How much was that?
That came to $97.15.
No, I have no knowledge of that.
Show me.
All we have is the credit card statement and the payment, because he had gave me $60, and we made a payment towards that.
So he gave you money?
$60. That was all he had given me the whole time.
Shh. What else?
The computer. There was also my computer that I had taken over to his house that he had sold. It had a computer lock on it, a security lock, and he hooked it up and asked me if I could take the code off. So I took the code off of it, and then at that time he had sold his computer to his mother. And then a few days later, my computer was gone, and there was a brand new Dell flat screen computer that was sitting in his camper. And when I asked him where mine was, he said it was in his truck. And then I didn't think anything of it, and that weekend I went to Indy and stayed with my mom for that weekend. And then when I got back, that's when I found out that he had sold it to his girlfriend's father for $100.
Go.
Okay. On the computer, she came down. The computer sat back in my truck for I think about a week. It was 90-degree heat. The flat screen got ruined. Sent it to the shop. Okay, on the other part of it, she had me going around the pawn shop trying to sell it to get the best price, so I just gave her $50 for it.
What do you mean she had you going around the...
Yeah, she tried to get me to sell it in front of my aunt, my mother, and everybody. Everybody knew about this.
Try to get him to sell the computer?
No, ma'am.
Oh, jeez. Damn, why?
I believe you probably did. You know why? Because you looked all around when you said no, ma'am. Miss Denning, you know nothing about it. Nothing. All you know is that your teenage daughter left home because she didn't like the rules. She went to her grandmother's house. She left her grandmother's house. She hooked up with her cousin. And then when she decided to come home, she's got to put together something that makes sense out of what she was doing when she was out of your home. So I'm not so sure that she didn't try to sell this computer because he already had a computer, because she needed some cash. But where is the computer now?
The computer is at the Putnam County Sheriff's Department if they haven't already picked it up. Because when they filed charges, I went down and bought it back from her dad, which was $150 where I bought it back. I got the receipt from him, and this is the property receipt for the computer.
Can I see it, please?
From the Sheriff's Department.
Can I see it, please?
You said you sold it for $100.
No. What kind of computer did you have?
The monitor was Samsung, the tower was HP, and the printer was Concord or Cord.
It's at the sheriff's office. So you take this and you go and get your computer back.
Yeah, they said they tried to contact her several times.
Ma'am, they don't have the monitor to the computer.
It's not on here.
The monitor...
They know what happened to the monitor. It got fried sitting in the back of my truck from 90-degree heat. I took it to the shop. As I explained to them, it was going to cost $200 some odd, and they wanted me to go buy it.
Okay. That's what's there, madam. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Go get it. You owe her $484.68. Instead of paying it to the credit card company, you give it to her so she can clean up her credit. Do you understand? Do you... Listen to me.
I have a question. If I've already made arrangements with the credit card company and they say they can sue me over this, which is the liability form and all that other stuff, how do I pay them, then turn around and pay them too?
No.
I'm not doing it.
No, listen! What I am telling you, sir, is the bank, while it says it's very nice that you agree to accept full responsibility, still has the ability to go against Kim, who signed the papers. You see, they're not relieving her of liability. They're just saying, oh, that's nice, we'll come against you first. But if you can't pay, we're going against her. And what I'm saying to you is you don't have to pay twice, only once. She is going to make the payment of $484 and change, and then you're off the hook. Do you understand? Off the hook with the credit card company, and she doesn't have to rely on your goodwill to make the payments. Do I make myself clear? All I want to know, not whether you agree with it. You don't have to agree.
Yeah, I know.
This isn't that kind of an arrangement that you and I have, sir. You don't have to agree.
Oh, I know.
All I'm asking you is, do you understand what I said? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $484.63. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He signed his own name to some of the credit cards, but I didn't even authorize the purchases, too.
She's lying through her teeth, you know, on everything she says.
She just tried to help him out, and he abused his family.
My family's neurotic.
He paid $60, and that was it. He's been in prison for, what, 9 years?
Don't do business or anything with family, you know.
And now the next case. Cynthia Zane is suing her ex-boyfriend, handyman George Flores, for the money she paid him to work on her house. George says Cynthia never let him finish the job. He is countersuing for his out-of-pocket expenses.
Now, this is case number 274 on the calendar in the matter of Zane versus Flores. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Miss Zane, according to what I read, you met the defendant in May of 2004. Where did you meet him?
I met him at a neighborhood bar.
Remember what date in May?
It was the first Friday in May. I think it was the 6th.
According to you, you and the defendant had a romantic relationship.
Correct.
And there came a time when he needed some money. 2 or 3 separate occasions. You loaned him the money, and the repayment was supposed to be work done in your home by the defendant. You paid him the money.
Correct.
He never did the work. Or he started the work but never completed it. And some he never did.
Well, he didn't do very much.
And so you want the money back.
Correct.
Mr. Flores says that there was never a romantic relationship that existed between the two of you, that you hired him to do work in your home. He performed the work. You never paid him. And he's got a counterclaim for that work. And both of you have claims against each other for harassment. Each of you say the other is harassing. So, what was the first loan, how much, and how did you give him the money?
I gave the money to him in cash.
For what?
It was for an automobile.
When was that?
That was June 6th, 2004.
And how much was it?
It was for $750.
So you gave him $750 then, and how was he supposed to pay you back that money?
He was supposed to perform work on my house.
What work, specifically, for the $750?
Okay, he was supposed to finish the trim around his sunroom, install a bathroom vanity and sink, repair to bathroom tile, cleaning, caulking, and treating mold and mildew.
I see you're looking at something. What is it that you're looking at?
I'm looking at the receipts he signed.
Can I see them, please? Did he do any of this work?
The only thing that he did, he mowed the lawn one time. He cut down a tree in the front yard. He power washed the front of the house.
And when did he perform this work?
Probably June 5th, maybe the 4th. First week in June.
Look, I asked you when the first money that you gave him was. You said it was June 6, 2004. You gave him $750 for a car.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $750. Here's the receipt, and I have it dated 6/21/04.
Mm-hmm.
And he was supposed to finish trim around the sunroom, install a bathroom vanity, and he signed this thing, and you signed it, and it says paid in advance. But now you say that he did this work on June 4th. So he did the work.
He did part of the work.
Okay, so he did part of the work.
Right.
Good. Now, when was the next time you gave him money?
The next time I gave him money would have been a week later, maybe 10 days later.
Now, when did you start to have a romantic relationship with Mr. Flores?
Probably the second week of May.
Well, tell me about the nature of your romantic relationship.
The nature of our romantic relationship was he told me he was unmarried.
Did you go out for dinner?
We sat at Chili's one day, and he told me he was divorced in April 2004.
Did you ever take her to Chili's, sir?
Chili's?
Chili's restaurant.
Never.
Never.
Never did. Not a Chili's restaurant. Never.
Did you ever take it to any restaurants, Mr. Flores?
No.
Oh, it's not it. Listen to me, Mr. Flores. I know everything.
No, ma'am. I only went to one to Jackie D's. That was on the 19th of August. That's the last time we went out together. And
Mr. Flores, you're not following what I'm saying, sir.
Okay.
Maybe we're having a communications problem.
Okay.
Did you ever go out to eat with the plaintiff?
Yes. Yes, I did.
Mr. Flores, you don't think that you're smarter than I am, do you?
No, ma'am.
Shh. You're not. So that when I ask you a question, you would do well to answer the question directly, truthfully the first time, so that you and I don't have to do a dance around the truth. Do I make myself clear?
Correct.
How many times were you and the plaintiff out for dinner?
Like two,
Look up!
2 or 3 times.
Okay. And of the 2 or 3 times, according to you, the one place that you never went was Chili's.
Exactly.
Where did you go when you went out for dinner?
Jackie D's.
Do you remember the days that you went to Jackie D's?
Exactly. 8/19th.
That was the last time, sir.
That was
Before
the last
that.
time. And before that, I went out with her to another place. I can't recall the name of it.
And do you remember about what time you got home?
Yeah, I believe I got home around 12:30 or 1 o'clock.
Now, at the time, Mr. Flores, you were living with whom?
My wife.
Where did you tell your wife you were on those evenings, Mr. Flores?
I told her I was out in I told her I was out in business.
You told your wife you were out on business?
Yes, with the lady I was working on.
No, Mr. Listen to me, sir.
Okay.
Your wife is not an idiot, is she?
No, believe me, she's not.
Right. So when you were out until 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, you wouldn't have told your wife that you were out with a lady discussing cleaning the mold out of her bathroom, right? So you told your wife that you were out on business, correct?
Yes.
And that was a lie.
Oh,
is not an answer, Mr. Flores.
No, it wasn't a lie. She had called me the same day to meet her in Jackie D's so we could discuss about the pay me for the job I did at her
How
house.
long did that take, Mr. Flores?
That took us at least an hour or two. We had a couple of drinks. We sat down and Next thing you know, it was like around 12:30, 1 o'clock. We got into an argument. She left me there. I had to call my brother to pick me up, and that was it.
Well, just a second. Why was that? How did you get there?
She picked me up.
Picked you up from where?
She picked me up from the well, the wishing well.
What's the
That's
wishing
the
well?
neighborhood bar where I met her in the beginning.
So she picked you up at one bar and you went someplace else
Yes.
to discuss it?
Yes, ma'am.
Why didn't you discuss the payment at the wishing well, sir?
Because she didn't want to stay there.
Miss
And
Flores,
that was it.
is that you?
Yes,
You
ma'am.
understand that he's full of baloney, don't you? Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. I just wanted to make sure that we understand each other.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Cynthia Zane says ex-boyfriend George Flores owes for the return of money she paid him to work on her home. Cynthia says George lied about being divorced.
Now, so you advanced him in total $3,000.
Yes.
And he only performed part of the work.
Right.
And after the romance was over,
After he
recording-
did the first... Oh, no. This went on until August 22nd. August 22nd was the last time I seen George.
Well, tell me about August 22nd.
August 22nd, we went to Jackie D's, and that's when we got in the argument because I confronted him. He knew that I was on the case about him being married. He kept denying it over and over, and I just didn't buy it. And that was that. I just didn't want anything to do with him after that.
Well, how did you find out he was married?
I got a tip from somebody, and then I went to the records in Pasco County, and I got his address, and it says George W. Flores and Letitia Flores, and it gave the address. So that's how I knew how to serve him the papers.
Okay. Now, tell me about the harassment.
The harassment?
Yeah.
Basically, the harassment didn't start. I have call logs. I shared a phone with him, with Sprint. He had, shared minutes. I gave him my phone.
You gave him a phone?
Right.
Is that right, sir?
Yes, it is.
Why would she give you a phone?
To keep in contact with her, to finish up on a job.
This many times a day highlighted.
That's all, because I had no phone for her to get in contact with me whatsoever.
You were living home with your wife.
Yes, I was.
Why couldn't she call you at home if this was a business proposition?
I do not have a home phone. That's the reason why she
He
got
has
the
a home phone. It's
Just a
on here.
second. Your wife doesn't have a home phone?
No, we have a cell phone.
Well, if she had to get in touch with you, and if the only phone that you had was a cell phone, why didn't she call your wife and say, listen, I'm a client of your husband's?
Because of the fact is, she kept all the time shutting off the phone that she had bought, and the one that my wife had was always only for emergency purposes, and that's the reason she got the phone for me, because I told her I couldn't call her from my wife's phone.
What kind of work do you do?
Me, I'm on SSI, ma'am.
What's the nature of your disability, Mr. Flores?
Mental depression,
How long have you been on SSI?
10 years.
You have children, Mr. Flores?
Yes, I do.
How old are they?
My oldest is 10 years old,
Yes.
and the other one's 7, and the other one is 5.
So you're not that depressed?
Oh,
Huh?
I guess not.
I guess not.
Yeah.
And I'm real interested in your counterclaim, because your counterclaim is for $3,000. Because according to you, Mr. Flores, you had a verbal contract with the plaintiff for $2,500 to do labor on her home.
Exactly.
So you're not too depressed to do labor, because you say you completed the work. Isn't that right?
Right.
So it's rather interesting. Social Security Administration is really going to be interested in the fact that somebody who suffers for 10 years from manic depression is able to do heavy manual labor in somebody's house for $2,500 in cash.
Well, it was basically...
Well, what?
Well, basically, when she hired me, it was only to clean up the house.
Is this the first time in 10 years, Mr. Flores,
Yes.
that you performed manual labor?
Yes, ma'am.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling me in 10 years, sir, aside from making 2 or 3 children, the only work that you've done was for the plaintiff, in the amount of $2,500 for which you were not paid. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was just your bad luck that that job ended you up in court before me.
Yes, ma'am.
And you're going to get to tell that story all over again, Mr. Flores, to the Social Security Administration, because I'm going to see to it that they get the tape. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Okay. I just want to tell you this. It's very hard for me to put a dollar figure on the work that he did. Gave him $3,000. Let's say power wash the front, power wash the driveway. He cut down a tree in the front of the house. So you figure, even if he was a very high-power person, he would be entitled to $1,500. You deduct that from what you paid him, which means that he owes you $1,500 because you gave him the money. I believe that you gave him the money, and I believe that he did not perform the work satisfactorily. And I do not believe that he performed the work and you didn't give him any money, which is what he says, because he's a scam artist. And he's been scamming the people of the United States of America for 10 years.
He has. I know that.
Oh, you know that?
I
know that because in his spare time he goes to Mickey D's or Dickie D's or wherever he goes to drink. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500 on a claim. His counterclaim is dismissed. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
George is a scammer. I got caught up in it. 3 months later, I finally figured him out.
She needed help fixing up her house and stuff. At the time, I said, sure, why not?
He was married. He told me he was not married.
We may end up getting divorced over this, yes.
Lying all around. He's a chronic, compulsive liar.
Basically, one thing led to another. This is it. I'm here.
Previously on Judy Justice.
We start arguing at this point, like we're both yelling at each other, it's getting heated. She then tells me that she's going to have some dudes come and beat me up. Gallo, out of nowhere, comes from a corner and tries to swing at me. She then lets these men inside the house. They're banging on my door, talk about bring your outside. All this mess, I immediately got everything that I could, and I booked a hotel at the Westin.
Claim is that during the time that you were in the hotel, there was damage done to the property.
Right.
This is the way you found it.
Yes.
Can you explain these photographs to me?
I can't explain the photographs. I didn't do it.
This is vandalism. Somebody took powder and liquid and broke mirrors, and quite frankly, I don't know this gentleman well, but he does not appear to be psychotic. Do you have any other proof that he caused this serious vandalism of his own house?
I do not have proof that he caused it, but I do have proof I was not there, and
I don't care whether you were not there or not. So I have to decide if it was a stranger, the plaintiff, or this side, maybe not you, but someone acting on your behalf.
And now, the conclusion. Carlos Guillen claims his former roommate, Nigel Pine, and her boyfriend, Gallo Jume, vandalized his property. Nige is countersuing, claiming Carlos had her falsely arrested.
Okay, so if there is no other proof, what?
May I interject, please?
Sure.
Over the situation that he's trying to say that happened on the 27th, that even led to the whole craziness that we see in the photos over the vandalism, is a lie. And in his police reports, I don't know if he'll show you the police report or anything that happened, details and dictates everything of what the situation is.
May I see the police report?
He came to
Do
her.
you have the police report?
She has.
I was not able to get the police report because I am listed as a suspect. I'm not a victim, so they wouldn't give it to me. But if I may interject, because you're going to...
I'm reading something.
You're going to need more information to understand.
These are all pictures of your room.
Yes, ma'am.
Ransacked.
Yeah, my room and then the living room as well.
The living room sofa, but this is your room.
That's my room.
This is your bed. Yes, you wanted to say something.
Yes, so Your Honor, as far as the room goes, I just want to add that there were multiple people living there. I moved in June while him and his family member went through an eviction process in April. So multiple people found out that we had to leave randomly. And so I wholeheartedly believe that someone else did this.
That's not true.
I can't.
Don't interrupt her.
Sorry.
Show you proof that he did it. To be honest with you, I don't know who did it, but I know I didn't, and I know he was with me as well. And
what about your brother? Was he with you?
My brother is.
I'm just asking you.
No.
What about your father? Was your father with you?
No.
Okay.
My father.
Just a second. Just asking you. The plaintiff said that there were 6 other people that came to the door, other than your brother. Who else came to the door?
No one.
Okay, so your brother just came alone?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And when he came, was the plaintiff still there?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And he stayed when the plaintiff left?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, go through the timeline with me. He came because you called your father called your brother because you were having difficulty, okay? And your father sent your brother right over and said, you better get over there. She's having difficulty with this guy. You go over there and straighten it out. whatever it is. How old is your brother?
My brother is 22.
22.
Mm-hmm.
Big, little.
He's slightly taller than me. He is more built, maybe like the size of the bailiff. A
Okay,
little shorter.
just a second. Okay, good. So when he came over, and you let him in?
No, he did not come in.
He did not come into the house at all?
Not until Carlos opened up the door.
Just a second, well, I'm asking you. He came into the house. Carlos opened up the door.
Mm-hmm.
Did your brother come into the house then?
Into the house, no.
Did he just stay in the front?
Yes, Your Honor. He stayed in the doorway.
Okay. There came a time that day that the plaintiff left the property. He went to stay at a hotel. He did not come home on that night of the 27th.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's clear. When he left, where was your brother?
I have no idea.
And I don't believe that your brother left you alone there before he left. So you have to understand, if your father sent your brother to be there to protect his sister from him.
There are things missing. And if you would allow me, I would like to tell you what actually happened that day, at least from my perspective, because it was never he left immediately. What happened was he came into my door at 7 o'clock in the morning, banging on my door, which I have a photo of the hole he put in my door, threatening me, asking if Gallo was inside of the room. And he wanted to fight me and Gallo because Gallo told him to leave us alone. And he sent threatening texts to Gallo saying, I'm gonna beat you up and we could fade and bucko this, bucko that, all this. And he's like, you know, like that. I called Gallo like, hey, Carlos is banging on my door looking for you. He's like, yeah, I know. I saw the messages. I'm on my way. And I'm like, okay. So we're arguing. He's at my door. I call my dad because I'm like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And he's like, oh, he gets upset. So he calls my brother. My brother, he happens to work in the West Side as a security guard. And he's like, well, Pops just called me. Do you need me to stop by?
I understand all that.
Exactly.
Go ahead.
So after he gets there, sees Carlos outside, I go downstairs after Carlos goes to his room, and I talk with my brother. And he's like, well, what's going on? And he's like, why he don't want to come outside? And yes, my brother was very upset because I told him, like, you know, this man was threatening me.
That's hearsay.
Yes.
That's hearsay.
So,
okay, let's understand something. This all came about, pay attention. This all came about because the two of you work in the same place. You had been living in the apartment for 3 months, and there had been no other police incidents up until this time, for 3 months. This incident, according to what I'm putting together, happened because after your boyfriend Gallo left and had a conversation with him about arguments that you had had with him, which you're not going to tell me about now because you're going to tell me that never happened. That's not something people make up. And he said he got into your business. That's what you felt. He got into your business.
No,
and
Your Honor,
just
that's
a
how I
second.
felt.
Just a second. And then you were talking about it to people where you both work. You acknowledged that you were talking to people about it where you both work.
Yes, Your Honor.
He got angry that you were bringing stuff that happened at home to work, and he came to confront you. That's
no, Your Honor, that's not. I have text.
That's exactly. Just a second. That's exactly what happened. That is exactly what happened.
He came to my door because of these text messages. These text messages are time dated. He came to my door because he messaged him.
While I was at work over a dispute it might have been about whatever the coworker said. He basically came to her door in his boxers.
No, listen to me. I'm making it simple, Gallo.
And so he texts Gallo, say, hey, G, I'm not fucking with her no more because she has an attitude problem. Gallo told the plaintiff, I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, I want to fade, I want to fight. And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad.
Defendant Naja Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Naja vandalized his property when he was gone.
It started because you told your girlfriend about the brief conversation you had with him after an argument. You say no, you're not going to say yes. Now you're still together, right?
We're
yeah,
together,
yeah,
but
still
that's
together.
Not the issue of
okay,
why
and
here where we're at.
And she got annoyed because the person that she's renting a room from, who she works with, is telling her boyfriend, "Listen, you don't have to stand for that. You know, you got your whole life ahead of you. You know, move on with it."
Your Honor, that is not what happened.
Oh, really?
I'm begging you to listen to me.
Just show me.
He's not that type of person.
Gallo,
Just like he is.
If I may, so what I have in my hand is a message where he came.
Just show me. Don't read it.
May I? Kevin, get the message. So if you see it, the first on the top page at the bottom, that message was birthed from him coming to my door while I was doing my hair and telling me to send him. He wanted to talk to. He has boxes on. He wanted to talk to me.
Just a second. What is this supposed to tell me?
I'm telling you right now, and then you read the message. I'm going to tell you the story that led him to say that last message. Because what happened was I'm sitting in my bed doing my hair, minding my business. He walks to my door with just his boxers on, a speakerphone with a female. He's like standing there in the doorway, and I look, and I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "What's up?" I'm like, "All right, well, let me know when you're ready." And I closed the door in his face. Like, I closed it because he has his boxers on. He's standing there, and I'm minding my business doing my hair. So I basically tell him, you know, let me know when you are ready to talk because you're standing here in your boxers like I'm good. And so when I open the door after, he's like, "All right, I'm ready to talk." He basically like, "I'm not with your attitude.
Just a minute.
Don't slam the door in my face," and all this other stuff. And so he texts Gallo that message you see there, say, "Hey, G, I'm not with her no more because she has an attitude problem." But I was upset because he was standing at my door in just his underwear. And so he texted him that. And then the next series of messages you'll see, Gallo told the plaintiff that basically you need to mind your business and I see what you want, like you're a hater. And Carlos responded and basically said, "I want to fade. I want to fight." And you'll see those in the messages. He said, "I want to fight. G, ain't got nothing to talk about. You're weird. All this buffoonery, the threats."
I don't have dates on this. Is this the 27th of August?
Yes, that is that morning.
The 27th of August.
That is that morning.
That's that morning.
And that is the morning he came banging to my door, which caused me to call my dad. He came to my door looking for Gallo to fight him.
I'm done with this case. I'm done. I'm done. You have a counterclaim.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to hear your counterclaim. Right now, this is a disaster, including the cutting up of the couch. There's no question that all of those items are worth $10,000. Now we're going to hear your counterclaim. And your counterclaim is that you were arrested falsely, tampering with tires, lost wages, and cyberbullying. I've read the messages. They're nasty. People say nasty things. That's not cyberbullying.
No, there are more.
Well, I want you to circle the ones that you say was cyberbullying. Cyberbullying. Give her a pen, please, Kevin.
Thank you.
Don't give me anything that's not circled. Are you still living at the house, sir?
I have keys to the house, but
that's
I'm
not what I asked you. Are you still living there?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I'm reading through these text messages. You said you can't fight stupid with stupid. Instead, I chose to remove my items and kick back in a 5-star hotel until my new place is ready.
Yes.
So you were moving into a new place.
I was, Your Honor, yes.
When did your lease start?
It would have started on September 10th, Your Honor.
Is the place furnished?
Not fully, Your Honor. No, I did get a new bed. That's about it as far as furniture and a dresser and like just the stuff I was able to save that she damaged at the home.
Just a second. Did you take the sofa?
No, I did not take the sofa.
Did you buy a new sofa?
No, I have a studio, so it can't fit.
So it doesn't fit?
No.
Anyway, so you were moving. So you purchased a new bed. Do you have the bill for the new bed?
Not on me, Your Honor, but it's
well,
the
that's
same.
what you know.
Yeah.
She may have destroyed all this stuff, but if you weren't taking the stuff with you anyway, because you have a studio apartment,
Right. Yes, ma'am.
you had to buy a new bed. I could understand you not having this bed.
Right.
Okay. Well, First of all, it's not cyberbullying. Any of this is nasty, but it's not cyberbullying. He does say in these emails, he came crying to me at 7 in the morning talking about how she beats him, calls him names, and says she wants him out of her life. I simply told bro not to worry about himself, to move on, just like any person with common sense would. This trick decides to go around my job and tell people I'm dirty. I don't pay my bills, and I'm trying to blank her man. All right, so I've just stricken cyberbullying. You have bill for the bed, sir. And if you don't, I'm going to allow you to tell me what you spent for it, because so far the $10,000 is coming down. How much was the bed?
$5,000, Your Honor.
Show me.
I didn't bring the receipt for the new bed. It was just for that bed that she damaged. Because I have a Kelly King now. She damaged my queen. So I have the comp for the queen bed that it was.
Well, I'd like to see that bed, which I see here. So you're going to show me a comp to this bed.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, let's move to false arrest. Well, you were arrested in part for vandalism, is that correct?
No, Your Honor.
Well, that's what the police report says.
Well, honestly, I haven't been able to see the police report, but I know that based on what officer gave me, I was arrested for theft.
Okay, what I'm telling you was the police report says he reported that the suspect vandalized property, also that property was missing from his bedroom, but he is clearly accusing you of vandalism. And the report says a report of theft. But the officer clearly arrested you probably for both charges, because the police report says vandalism, and I find that was a legitimate arrest.
No, Your Honor.
That's what I find.
Okay. And I go to my car to go to work, and all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing.
So were the tires flattened and slashed?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes in it and they weren't patchable.
I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental.
3 teams are about to go into the ultimate Play-Doh competition. It's falling, it's falling, it's falling.
Oh, God.
3, 2, go. Oh, my goodness.
The party go.
Defendant Nigel Pine has accused her former roommate, Carlos Guillen, of getting her falsely arrested. Carlos claims Nigel vandalized his property when he was gone.
Did you find that for me?
Yes, I have an image of it, Your Honor. So sorry. Here you go. That's the mattress that she damaged.
So you had a queen or you bought a split king, is that what you're telling me?
Yes, I bought a Cow King, yes.
Okay, so that was $3,000.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left this bed here, or what did you do with it?
I had some people clean it, so.
You had what people clean it?
I called my maintenance people who helps out with the house and stuff, and he got some of his crew, and they cleaned out and cleared out the whole apartment, Your Honor.
Cleaned out the whole apartment?
Yes.
What did they do with the bed?
I believe they trashed it, Your Honor. I'm not sure.
You don't know. Do you have a bill from them?
From them, no, Your Honor.
You don't have anything. I mean, what is it that you have? You don't have a bill for a new bed.
Yeah.
You have a bed that you say is comfortable. You don't have a bill from the people who cleaned out the apartment, because I assume somebody had to clean this apartment.
Right.
If you were moving out.
Right.
Well, right. I know I'm right. All right. I'm getting more disgusted with this case at every turn. Strike $10,000. Tell me about your tires. When did you find your tires
So the
tampered
27th,
with?
after the police left, after we agreed to peace, I went upstairs to go to sleep.
He was still in the house?
Yes, Your Honor.
On the 27th?
And when I woke up, I was getting ready to go to work. I noticed the electricity was off, which in those papers I gave you, he stated he turned off the electricity.
Yes.
Electricity was off. Everything was gone as well. Like, not everything, but like weird random things, like the microwave was gone. It was like a PS4 and like some like game setup thing that was gone.
Okay.
Like all of the valuables were gone.
So he had taken some of his stuff out because he was moving.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he moved. Are you telling me he didn't move? Didn't move?
Not yet. No.
Oh, he's still there?
He was still there. But he
I mean, today, now. Is he there now?
Oh, no, Your Honor. But he was still there. Like, his things were still there.
Some of his things were still there, but he took some things with him.
He took.
When he left on the 27th.
What the things he claimed was valuable. Anyway, so I go downstairs and I go to my car to go to work because, like I said, I didn't think this would go any further, to be honest with you. And all 4 of my tires were flat and bolts were missing out of my tires.
You have photographs of that?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to take a look at it.
Are these repeats? Oh, this is one with the timestamp. Thank you.
And he was not there?
No, Your Honor.
So were the tires flattened and slashed, or were they?
To be honest, I don't know, but they said there were holes in it and they weren't patchable at all.
So they were holes in all
Yes,
4?
Your Honor.
Do you have the bills for 4 new tires?
No. I paid cash. I should have.
That doesn't mean whether you paid cash or not. It means we're not talking about.
I
we're
wasn't
not
thinking
talking
about it, but I do have a receipt for the tow.
The tow I will
Yes. Which I ended up having. So we used Gallo's AAA, and it was his 4th tow, so he wasn't going to be able to get another one after that. So I ended up paying him for the extra tow, which is $90. And then I bought 4 new tires.
Well, I can't help you with the 4 new tires because
okay.
what you come here for is to prove to me any element of your claim. Right now, the plaintiff has not proven all the elements to his claim for $10,000. I believe he had to buy a new bed because that bed was destroyed, and I've already indicated who I believe is responsible for that. I do believe that he or somebody acting at his bequest, because I don't believe in serendipity and coincidence. This is far too coincidental. The damage to the home was far too coincidental to your argument with him, and the damage to your car is far too coincidental for me to be comfortable with. So I would, if you had a receipt, and we're not talking about years ago, we're talking about recently that you say you had to buy 4 new tires. Well, whether you pay cash or check for tires, you can get a receipt. And if you know you're coming to court, you're supposed to get a receipt. The same thing I'm telling you.
I didn't know I was going to court. I thought it was all over with, to be honest.
Very, very good. Judgment for the plaintiff on the complaint. My original order was for $3,000. From that, I'm reducing it by $90, so it's $29.10. Judgment for the plaintiff that disposes of the counterclaim. Thank you very much. We're finished here.
This court is adjourned.
He never lived there. We don't argue like that.
We never argued. It never was a problem. He's basically... His issue was with her.
She's a hater, to keep it real with you. She assumed that I was trying to sleep with her man when I was just giving him evidence, so.
We have DMs, messages. He came to me talking about her, and I addressed him. That's my girlfriend.
Yeah, I mean, there's text messages of him thanking me. So it's kind of weird how that played about, but I don't know.
He's tired of her, he's annoyed, and I'm like, that's not nothing that you should be telling me. You guys don't need to talk. She stays on the 3rd floor, you're at the bottom. Leave her alone.
I definitely did respond, letting him know that, you know, if you're gonna go around saying that I'm trying to sleep with you and spread all these lies, then we can definitely have a conversation face to face. I did say that, yes.
But he's already been treating her like this from the jump. And that's why I messaged him to basically leave her alone.
They definitely damaged his house. I've seen it for myself, so it's unfortunate how it ended, but we know the truth.
Honestly, I don't
want to hear from him ever again.
I think you were right that there was far too many scenarios that lined up a little too perfectly around the same argument for it to be somebody else.
Some other dude did it. You know, I'm sorry that the plaintiff didn't tell me he moved and was in fact moving within a couple of days into a studio apartment. That would have been interesting information to have right from the get-go. I don't know why I didn't have it. It just would have gone to the extent of damages. I mean, if he had to buy a new sofa, and certainly from the vandalism, that sofa he needed, but he didn't need a new sofa. He had a studio apartment. That doesn't give somebody the right to vandalize your property and to break things.
But the law is allowed to use common sense in determining damages, and I think your final ruling on canceling out the defendant's countersuit with the plaintiff's too large of an ask for damages was the right call.
You think so?
I think so.
You know.
I wish she had the receipt for tires. You could put 2 and 2 together that, okay, clearly...
Oh, I saw the photographs. The tires were clearly flattened, but you don't know if they were flattened as a result of somebody taking the plugs off them and just letting the air go out of them.
And without a receipt or without a mechanic's note.
Really don't know. And this all happened 2 months ago, so she should have the bills. Anyway, you try to use common sense, and when the physical evidence isn't there of who done it, you sort of try to piece together a scenario that makes sense. Unfortunately, now you have some text messages and you have emails that assist in that. Not everything is a picture.
Yeah.
More and more so, at least in the criminal system, it's becoming a picture because everybody has cameras all the time and there's cameras all over the place. But in these civil actions, very often there aren't.
Carrie Cargill is suing Joseph Simonet for car damage after Joseph's 15-year-old son hit Carrie's vehicle.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
Good morning.
Case 2138, Cargill versus Simonet.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Cargill, you and the defendant's son had an accident while you were driving your car, and Mr. Simonet's son was driving his electric scooter.
It was like a skateboard, a one-wheel skateboard.
Tell me your name.
Jacob Simonet.
Describe this vehicle that you were riding on.
It's got 2 spaces for your feet. Has one in the back, one in the front.
Now try to look at me. I'm trying to see you.
Oh.
Trying
There's
to
one in the
go
back,
like this.
one in the front, and then there's a big wheel in the center. And you put your feet on either side, and then it balances, and you ride it kind of like a skateboard.
Oh, I actually
I had a
have
feeling you
picture
might
of
need it.
myself riding on one of those for about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
We bought it for one of my grandchildren years ago, but it's motorized.
Yes.
It has a motor.
It's electric.
And how fast does it go?
Tops out at about 17 miles an hour.
17.
Yes.
That's pretty fast. Are you required to drive that on the street where pedestrians walk or where cars ride?
On the sidewalk with pedestrians.
Sidewalk.
Yes.
Do you drive it on the sidewalk?
Yes, I do.
Do you ever drive it in the street?
I do not.
Now you're going to tell me what happened on the date of this incident, which was August 17th.
This year, yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was going south after work, and I was going to, crossing through the intersection. I had the green light.
Is there a chart?
Yes. Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, I was crossing the intersection.
You're the blue car.
I'm the blue car. And I had the green, it was going, and Jacob had cut through on the red into the green and slammed into the side of my car. He had cut through the intersection.
So he was in the street where the cars travel?
Yes.
Not on the sidewalk?
Right. He was not in the walkway.
Okay. Jacob, I want you to walk up to that sign and show me where you were when you and the plaintiff collided.
I was about right here.
You were in a crosswalk?
Yeah, I was in the crosswalk coming through about right.
Okay, is that what, Jacob, is that what the police report is going to indicate? That you were in the crosswalk?
I don't know.
Well, I assume that there is a police report. Is that correct? Police report's going to tell me where the debris was, I assume. The debris is either going to be in a crosswalk or it's going to be in the street. Where do you think it's going to be?
Some of it was in the street.
Show me the street that you're talking about.
About like right
No,
here.
put your finger on it. Don't go around where it's...
About right here.
Right there. That would be in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
That would be in the middle of the street where the cars travel, not in the crosswalk.
Yeah.
Yes. It's easy.
Sure.
How old is he?
15.
15. I've had a whole bunch of those who are 15. You know when they're telling a fib?
How?
When their mouths are moving.
He's a pretty good kid.
All of my kids are pretty good kids. But you can always
Figure
tell.
it out, huh?
Yeah, you can usually tell. Is this your first only?
Both, first and only.
First and only. Oh, well, she probably had some experience with that anyway.
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay, and this happened at what time during the day?
I believe it was about 4, a little after 4, 4:30.
So it was light out?
Yes.
You collided with her car on the driver's side?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, on the door of the driver's side?
The fender.
Fender?
Yes.
Side fender?
Yes, side fender.
Okay, not the front of the car?
The front fender of the car.
Front fender of the car on the side. I'm talking about it was the side or the front?
The side.
Side. So you collided with her.
Yes.
Because cars don't move sideways.
Yes.
He could have been quite seriously injured.
Yes, he could. He hit the side of the car and he flew up onto the hood and then kind of rolled across the hood, hit my windshield, and then fell onto the ground. And when I stopped, he jumped up, appeared at my window, and apologized, and then asked me if I was okay.
What did he say?
Just said he was sorry. And then he asked me if I was okay. And then I asked him if he was okay. And then he asked me if I was okay. And it went back.
So far, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
And which I was very impressed by, that he was more worried about me than anything else. I moved my car out of the road, onto the side of the road. There was an EMT that was across the street from us, and he came over and assessed him if there was any more damage. He got some road rash and things like that, but he was not seriously hurt, at least that we noticed at the time.
Do you have the police report?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please, Kevin. Thank you.
You're welcome.
One witness said that he was right next to you and that you went past him and that the light was red. His light was red, which is why he was stopped. That's what I'm reading. He did say that his light was red when the kid initially passed in front of him. Did you get a copy of this police report?
I've seen it, yes.
Explain to me, would you put on this again and leave that one on because that's the version that I believe. Would you walk over there and explain to me what cut the corner was, what you were doing? It talks about cutting the corners. So I want you to understand, I believe that, based upon what I'm reading here, I believe that.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want you to show me how you cut the corner.
So I was coming to this one, and I went through, and instead of going here and just going through the sidewalk, I just went like around here and through this crosswalk.
What's cut the corner?
Cut the corner here, right there.
You mean just that little space is what you're talking about? You cut the corner?
Yeah, I went from about...
I want you to understand, I believe that you were in the street. I believe you were in the street, not in a crosswalk. So let's run through that again. Would you please show me what cut the corner was?
Went through here, I came here, and I cut here. So right there, I cut the corner.
He is a nice boy, Mr. Simonette.
Thank you.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. It was like a tank. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel.
And later today.
Your claim is that you won a whole bunch of money in some gambling thing. I just want you to tell me how much you won.
Before taxes or after?
Both.
Terry Cargill claims Joseph Simonette owes for damage after his 15-year-old son hit Carrie's car while riding an electric skateboard.
Okay. The police determined that based upon the eyewitness testimony that the pedestrian, Jacob, is at fault and believed to have crossed the intersection before having the right-of-way. The vehicle had the green light. In any event, do you have photographs of your car? This happened in August, and you were called to the scene by your son, is that right?
Correct.
And you got there, you know that he was a little banged up, but thankfully...
He was in an ambulance when I arrived, but shortly after, yes, he did walk out of the ambulance and suffered some injuries, which I have pictures of if you'd like to see them.
I'm sure he was banged up. He had bruises from falling off the...
From being launched from the vehicle after the collision, correct.
Okay. You know, he was really lucky that she wasn't going faster.
Correct. Could have been much worse. We were thankful for his health on the outcome of the incident.
You're right. Okay, can I see an estimate to fix your car, please? Thank you.
You're welcome.
What kind of a car do you have?
A 2015 Equinox Chevy.
You had full coverage on the car, is that right?
Yes.
But with a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
So if you put this through to your insurance, you have a $1,000 deductible.
Yes.
Right? Anything else you want to tell me, Jacob?
No.
Do you still ride one of those things?
It's broken. I didn't get a new one, no.
It was destroyed in the accident.
You know what my father told me when he gave me my first car? I think I was 17. He bought me the oldest, ugliest car, but it was like a tank. All my other friends were getting these nice, cute little cars, and this one was like an old person's tank Cadillac or something. You know, we're talking 50 years ago. And I said, why do I have to have this car? Everybody else has cute cars. He said, because if you get in an accident, I want you to be surrounded by 4,000 pounds of steel. That's pretty much the lesson that I've sent out there. 4,000 pounds of steel. One and only, surrounded by lots of steel. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,000. Thank you. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
Overall, I'm happy.
She had some fault due to hitting a pedestrian in a crosswalk.
It was surreal, like out of the movies.
Your heart stops, and all you can do is look for the car keys and panic and get there as fast as you can.
I am so glad that he was okay.
I remember just flying through the air, and then I was on the ground, and I got right up.
Be very careful.
Count your blessings and enjoy every moment that you have, because things could change in an instant.
I know these electric scooters and skateboards are very popular, but even before this case, I tried to look up any rules, laws, regulations. There are a few for electric motorbikes and things like that, but far fewer than I would expect for a machine that can go up to 17 miles an hour when you're 15.
I think that you're right. I think that since those things have become so popular, there really have to be enforced rules. And parents, and this is a very nice father and son, but I've seen kids weave in and out of cars. It always looked like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah, and this one could have ended in a real tragedy.
He was lucky, and his father knew he was lucky.
Angela Landy is suing her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, for stealing clients and breaching their employment agreement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2112, Landy versus Wyatt.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Wyatt, when did you become an esthetician?
I was licensed as an esthetician in March of 2021.
Okay. Miss Landy, this is what your case is about. You hired Miss Wyatt for your business. You have a spa business? Is that what it is?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you had the business?
I've been in operations as an S-Corp since 2016. I worked for myself as a sole proprietor since 2009.
How many employees did you have in 2020 and 21?
In 2020, it was during the pandemic. We were shut down most of the time. In 2021, there was up to 5 employees, not including myself, Your Honor. It was 6 of us total.
Does that include Miss Wyatt?
It does, Your Honor.
When did she start working for you?
She started working for me in February of 2021 as a receptionist. I hired her as a receptionist.
Okay. Not an esthetician?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Were you going to school at the time?
I was not hired in February. I didn't get my license until March of 2021.
What the plaintiff says is you were hired in February. She probably has documents to work as a receptionist.
I was not hired. I didn't even have my license then.
Did you have any proof that she started in February?
Your Honor, I have proof that she...
Was she on your payroll?
She was on my payroll.
Okay, so that's
what we have document of in that is that she started brand new as a receptionist. Maybe it was in March of 21.
Okay.
I have my first paycheck stub.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
This is a pay stub from April.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. This is your claim. Your claim is that when Miss Wyatt came to work for you, subsequently as an esthetician, which she was, because she counted her among your 6 employees in 2021, that she had signed a contract which provided for certain restrictions should she leave. You don't have that contract.
I cannot find it. It was supposed to be.
Okay. You don't have that contract.
Nope.
Miss Wyatt, when you went to work for the plaintiff, do you recall signing a document?
I do recall signing documents stating like what my job title was and like the documents that would go towards what we went over and things like that for training purposes.
Okay.
Your Honor, I have non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement documents of employees. There's 4.
Okay. Is this an employee of yours?
No, it is not, Your Honor.
Ever? Was ever?
Never been an employee.
Were either one of those 2 people employees, former employees?
Tabitha Brown was.
Was this a former employee of yours?
Tabitha Brown was a former employee.
At approximately the same time?
She was an employee of mine for 5 years up until April 17th, Your Honor.
Did she voluntarily leave or did you?
She voluntarily left.
Okay. Did she voluntarily leave to go to work with the defendant?
I did not know that until the day defendant left.
But ultimately you determined that she did?
Sure did.
Okay. She was with you for 5 years?
Sure. Yes.
I assume that if you have a business and you don't have this contract, which you allege if you could produce, had a specific non-compete clause in it, but you don't have it. She remembers signing something, but she doesn't remember exactly what it was. Can you stand up? Tell me your name.
Tabitha Brown.
Miss Brown, Did you sign a contract when you went to work for the plaintiff?
Yes, I didn't remember that I did.
You did?
Yes.
But you did?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a copy of her?
I sure do. And
just a second.
Okay.
Do you have a copy of it?
I don't.
No. But you have a copy of what she signed?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
Your Honor.
No. Just
Okay.
let me see the copy. I'm trying to reconstruct something just to get some general parameters of this case. Tabitha Brown, March 22nd, 2022.
Yes.
Different.
Oh.
That is not the non-solicitation, non-disclosure agreement. That's a different agreement. Those are contracts she has signed.
Oh, well, you gave me two things. What is this?
One is her non-disclosure, non-solicitation, and also the second one is the role definition of an esthetician working for me.
Looking at the non-compete. Okay, this is pretty standard. Kevin, would you show this to Miss Brown? And I also want you to show it to Miss Wyatt. That clearly your signature.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. And so that says within 1 year of your leaving Miss Landy's employment, you will not work in a related field within 7 miles from her current place of business.
Yes.
When you left her employment, did you go to work with Miss Wyatt?
We left to share. Yes.
The answer is either yes or no. So you did. You went to work with Miss Wyatt. And when you went with Miss Wyatt, that was sometime in 2022.
Yes, ma'am.
What month?
May of 2022.
Your Honor, that's incorrect.
Shh. Don't. I'm not needing your help.
Okay.
In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract, so I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation.
That's what I'm saying.
Due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
I still have to pinch myself to really believe it. You don't get better if you win all the time. You look at yourself more when you lose.
I'm thinking of my daughter today. I miss her so much. This is making me want to be more adventurous for her, definitely.
If by the last episode True Love is not achieved, Drama World will cease to exist. What? It's up to us to stop it.
Angela Landy claims her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, stole clients and breached their employment agreement.
Now, does Miss Wyatt have a location, a shop, a store, a place of business, or does she operate out of her residence?
We share a space.
You share a space where?
At the Salon Studios in Valencia.
Have you calculated the distance between that space and Miss Landy's office?
I have, ma'am.
And how far is it?
3.4 miles.
Well, you're not allowed to do that, pursuant to the terms of your agreement.
Correct. I don't have a copy of that agreement, ma'am.
Well,
I have it now, but at the time I didn't. It's from 5 years ago, and I never received a copy of that. So it was.
I don't know whether you received a copy of it or not. It's your signature, and it's pretty standard fare.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that it's not standard fare. So, Miss White, what I have to do is sort of put together whether or not I believe that you, in fact, had the same document that you signed.
Correct.
And I believe that you did.
Okay.
Despite the fact she says that you probably took it when you left. I can't describe that conduct to her. But this is pretty standard fare, that within 1 year it's not too onerous, it's not within a 50-mile radius, it's a 7-mile radius. 3.5 miles is certainly well within that. You could have found some place that was 8 miles away, and then we wouldn't be in this difficulty. But you didn't. Anyway, so you were in violation of your contract when you left and went to work and shared space with Miss Wyatt. Okay, but you're not suing her.
No, ma'am.
Why?
Because I know the case would be dismissed because of the lack of solicitation between clients and of a former employee.
Well, not necessarily. Those two stand alone.
Your Honor, if I may say, there was a small claims action against Tabitha, but because there was no evidence.
What do you mean there was no evidence?
I had no evidence, the way I have evidence today with Alishani, that Tabitha solicited clientele.
Okay. Now you can sit down.
Thank you.
So that small claims case was dismissed.
Yeah, I have nothing there, which I learned. I have nothing to stand on what I have to stand on today.
Well, what you had to stand on, Miss Landy, which I don't understand, you had a non-compete agreement with her. She's in violation of that agreement. That's all you need. And she violated this agreement. She went to work within 7 miles of your place of business. So I don't understand that. In this case, you don't have a physical signed contract. I have to reconstruct whether I believe that there was one. So I don't see why you think that you have all documentation.
I don't have documentation.
That's what I'm saying.
Due to the fact that I believe she stole the information out of my filing cabinet.
I don't know whether she did or not. Right now, you say it's a lost document. You can't find it.
Correct.
Okay. And the defendant acknowledges, and it's usually custom and practice in the business, to sign a non-compete when you have that kind of service industry. Right. And I'm prepared to accept judicial notice of the fact that when you go to work for a beauty salon or a hair salon or a spa, you develop a clientele within the spa. You can't open up a store next door and steal the clients. Most people have people sign this, and you did, and you had it done 5 years ago. So Ms. Brown is in violation of this contract.
That is correct.
Why somebody dismissed that, I don't know. I have no idea. Okay. So now you're going to demonstrate to me that Miss Wyatt solicited clients of yours.
Yes,
Show me.
Okay. In July of 2021, Alishani was trained to be an esthetician.
Let's not go back to ground zero. I'm not interested. I am assuming for the purposes of this hearing that she signed a non-compete clause, just as Ms. Brown did. So let's start from there, and I asked you a very simple question. I said, what proof do you have that she solicited clients when she left?
Your Honor, my solicitation is here.
Fine, I'd like to take a look at it.
And my witness, Kennedy, is here as well.
Well, let's go to Miss Kennedy. Was Miss Kennedy a client of yours?
Yes, Your Honor.
Would you stand up, please? Your first name?
Kennedy.
Last name?
Johnson.
Ms. Johnson, how long had you been a client of Miss Landy's spa?
I want to say about 2019, Your Honor. I was there before the pandemic and was there for a while before it shut down due to COVID.
Were you there after it reopened?
Yes.
After COVID. What kind of work do you have done there?
I get sugared, which is using sugar, lemon, and I believe it's honey, and water, and you mix it together and it takes hair off of you.
And who did that for you?
I went through many of the clientele and the employees at Angela's shop at the time. So there were several people that, Alicia was one of them, as well as Tabitha.
How many times did the defendant do the waxing? Sugaring.
I want to say at least 5 times.
Do you recall when she left Miss Landry's?
I do not remember the date. However, I do remember getting a call from her company. I got a call saying...
From Miss Landry's company?
Yes.
Your Honor, it's Landy.
Landy.
Yes, from Miss Landy's company. They had called me on my cell phone and told me that she was no longer there, and they had told me she was no longer there.
You can't tell me what somebody from her shop told you. That's hearsay. I want to know about the solicitation. If there was.
Yes. So, one point while the defendant was there.
Sorry. Do you understand?
Yes. While the defendant was there, I had gotten sugared on my face. It was a small patch test, and after she had texted me, gave me her personal number, and told me if I had any reaction to text her and let her know. After I texted her, I had...
And this was while she was working for the plaintiff?
Yes, that is correct.
Go ahead.
And as a while, I started having a small reaction, and I had texted her and sent her a picture of my face and told her that I was starting to have a small reaction. I did not receive anything back for a little bit, and then I want to say around April, late March.
Well, when did you text her?
This text for the face patch was earlier, I want to say early March, maybe February.
Do you have the text?
I believe she gave it to you.
The third one, Your Honor.
What date did Miss Wyatt leave your employ?
April 22nd is when I got her immediate resignation.
April 22nd, 2022. And is this what you're referring to? Hey, Kennedy, I forgot to tell you, if you wanted to book with me again, I could put you in my books. I'll be in Valencia.
That's correct.
And is Valencia where your shop is?
3.2 miles away, Your Honor.
No. Answer my question. I have a question. Is Valencia where your shop is?
No.
That's my question. Why don't you just answer my question?
Okay.
tell me what she told your attorney? Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit?
Is your attorney in the military?
No, I just have a notarized affidavit.
From whom?
My
From
attorney.
Her? No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys. Okay. It's ridiculous.
Business owner Angela Landy has accused her former employee, Alishani Wyatt, of taking her clients and breaking their agreement.
So Valencia is not where your shop is. Valencia is where your place of business is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So you left on the 22nd, is that correct?
That's correct.
On the 20th, 2 days before, you tell Miss Kennedy, because I assume that this was a planned move of yours, that she can reach you again at your new place of business in Valencia.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, well, you're not allowed to do that.
During the services, it's a very intimate service, so you start to gain a relationship with these clients. And through that time, I felt like I had gained a relationship. It wasn't just a client with Kennedy. So
You met her
Yes.
through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
You started to work on her through the plaintiff.
Yes, Your Honor.
She had other people work on her other than you.
Yes.
She may have liked you better than the other people. That doesn't diminish the fact that you knew that you weren't supposed to solicit clients. You knew that. I believe that you knew that.
Yes.
Because that's standard fare. So your excuse is you thought you developed a personal relationship with her.
Correct, Your Honor.
How many other people did you develop a personal relationship with?
Majority of the clients that I had who were returning clients of mine, I felt like I had built personal relationships with.
If you're potchking around with somebody's face or scrubbing their body or giving them a scrub to get hair off on every part of the body, then you develop an intimate relationship
Correct.
with somebody. Now, your first name is Kennedy?
Yes.
Kennedy, did you ever go out to dinner with Miss Wyatt?
No, I did not.
She ever invite you to her house?
No, she did not.
Was the only time you ever saw Miss Wyatt while you were having a service?
That is correct.
You see, that's not an intimate relationship. That's just stealing clients, Miss Wyatt.
Okay.
So my question to you is, you're seeking damages, okay? Did you seek injunctive relief?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I didn't know about injunctive relief. In addition, because of the staff leaving, because of solicitation, admitted solicitation by Alishani to my attorney, and I have a sworn affidavit for that. Because of that, I ordered them a cease and desist, and they ignored the cease and desist. Alishani told my attorney that she did not
No, you can't
solicit
tell, Bob. You
hearsay.
can't tell me what she told your attorney. Do you understand?
Even if I have an affidavit?
Is your attorney in the military?
No, I just have a notarized affidavit.
From whom?
My
From
attorney.
Her? No, I don't take affidavits from attorneys. It's ridiculous. Are you still in operation, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
How many people work for, with, or to you?
It's just me. I have my own personal LLC, and she has her own personal LLC, so none of our money is combined.
Miss Wyatt, how many of your former clients from Miss Landy's business followed you?
I would say a good portion. I don't have an exact number.
Yes.
Here you go.
Now, just tell me.
I would say at least...
No.
No, I'm sorry.
I don't want you to say I would say at least. I assume you have names, people.
I have names and people here.
How many of your clients
20.
went to Miss Wyatt?
20.
Not was solicited. Follow me very carefully. Not solicited by her, but actually left your business to go with her.
Actually left my business to go with her.
20.
Yes, Your Honor.
I'd like to see. Does that sound right, Miss Wyatt?
Yes, Your Honor.
Then I don't have to see. She says that that's about right.
Your Honor, I would also like to add that after I left, she did send out a mass text allowing all of the clients who had ever seen me to be aware that I was no longer there. So that also allowed more clients to reach out to me in different aspects.
No, my dear, you made the mistake.
Okay.
You made the mistake by opening up an office within a 7-mile radius, which you can't do.
Okay.
You solicited her clients. I thought maybe just 1 or 2, but 20, that's a lot of clients. 20 recurring clients is a lot of clients. Miss Landy's request in her small claims case is the maximum of the jurisdiction, which is $10,000. And I think that she deserves every penny of that.
Okay.
Because what you did was wrong and a breach of your contract with her. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $10,000.
Thank you, Your Honor.
This court is adjourned.
And I have to tell you something. That's ongoing.
Okay.
Just so that you're aware.
I I felt like the work environment was very unstable.
I have so many people to testify, including employees, that it's not a hostile work environment.
And I was constantly anxious there.
I was doing so much to improve the quality of the business by changing policies and procedures.
I had to do what was best for me and my family. I'm a single mom, so
hiring a business coach, working with an HR team.
Let the better business win, I guess.
The better business has won.
I was a little bit confused. Maybe you can shed some light on it for me. Why the plaintiff wouldn't sue for injunctive relief, because injunctive relief is suing not so much for damages, but to get someone to stop doing something. So in this case, it seemed to me that the proper ask, per se, would be injunctive relief to stop the defendant from operating her business in violation of her contract. But she didn't do that. She sued for damages instead. And I just think that this same problem could keep happening, that I think it's a good lesson for people to educate themselves or hire a lawyer to find the proper relief. Because what's to say that this is going to stop today? I'm sure she'll keep seeing the 20 clients.
Well, she's going to keep seeing the 20 clients.
Mm-hmm.
This judgment today was more compensatory than punitive, because if she had taken one client with her, well, she's in violation of the contract, and some token violation would have been appropriate. But she took 20 clients with her.
I got the feeling from you that you weren't exactly in line with the $10,000 number until you heard about
I heard
20
the 20.
clients.
I mean, that's really
That's a whole business,
some
really.
sort of chutzpah to knowing, and I believe she absolutely knew, she was a smart cookie, knowing that you had a non-compete, because her friend, who she also took with her, had the same documents signed in 2017. So, and she's clearly a businesswoman, so that would be a consistent practice of hers. I don't know who took the contract out of the file cabinet. It's for another day. I reconstructed it. I actually don't know why she wouldn't sue for injunctive relief as well as punitive damages. It would have been an option for her.
Yeah.
Hi, chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh những chú cá. Mình sẽ lấy màu xanh đậm tô vào vây. Bọn tao chẳng biết đâu. Oh my gosh. Con cá này mình sẽ tô màu xanh này. Tâm đang làm gì giờ?
Ăn uống sao?
Ăn uống nhai ăn làm cái gì?
Hả?
Ăn uống tập trung hay ăn uống mình nhai cái này?
Trung.
Này ăn không?
Chắc thế.
Việc gì?
Chẳng biết. Sao? Chắc không có gì.
Không vào trên nhóm không?
Thế mà chân gà tí ba chỉ.
Thế á? Thế cơm này mua của 2 đồng một thôi. Để ngoài đâu. Đáng thì phải để ngoài. Nướng à?
Chắc thế.
Dạ nướng, cho anh nấu. Thế nướng này đi mua khoai.
Không biết sẽ có em mua chưa, chừng chưa sao?
Thế á?
Mà nướng ở ngoài chứ. Mình chỉ có bếp vào nướng ngô khoai.
Đừng đứng lên nướng.
Đứng nhưng mà có lâu thì có bếp. Chẳng biết ăn cái gì, mẹ hỏi đi có biết đâu.
Thôi nói gì thì nhóm không biết đâu.
Chả biết thì như nướng bếp ấy thôi. Cái bếp như của nhà mình ấy.
Không chứ chỉ cái gì. Không phải bằng múc rau rồi.
Thế à? Chắc rau cuốn tí bác chỉ.
Mẹ. Yêu đây mẹ hỏi à? Tôi phải. Đây một lần trước nó men. Bao giờ mẹ học thấy hôm nay em phải học phụ cho con không? Và có chị ạ. Nhưng mà hôm nay chị Bân cũng chạy đi học được. Không, ba đứa này. Em thấy anh hay chị đi, con xin về trước mọi người chị có việc. Không à? Nghe không giỏi nhỉ? Mình tư. Nghe không giỏi nhỉ? Mình ba.
Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một đàn cá. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.